Hello and welcome to Tyrion Cuthbert. We are still the prosecution. This time, the one with all the prosecuting. That's this one here. Let's go. All right, so we're at the will reading, I believe. Let's see. Miriam, there you are. Where have you been? I've been speaking to Father's attorneys. His estate is in absolute chaos. Do you really need to do that? I'm sure they have it under control. These vultures are practically salivating over Father's death. The will hasn't even been read, yet I can barely keep these cretins from robbing us blind. Oh, I see. You were quiet at the funeral this morning. Are you okay? Of course I am. Miriam, I know things are chaotic now, but we'll get through this together. Beatrice has finally returned. Maybe now we can... And why do you think she returned? What? She was clearly doing quite well for herself. She could have come back at any time. And the very night she returns, Father ends up with a knife in his throat. How can you say that? Weren't you trying to protect her at the trial yesterday? Don't tell me you actually believe she did this. Her attorney is Ruby Tamora, Leif. Even you can put together what that means. No, I know her. She would never do this. You know her? Leif, she's a completely different person. She might as well be a stranger to us. How can you say that? You adored her so much. I did, Leif, but things have obviously changed. Everything changed after she abandoned us. The only difference is that I'm not going to fall apart over it like some sad, mournful child. Miriam, I just wanted us to be a family again. Well, you're going to be sorely disappointed, just like you always are. You always live in a land of fairy tales. Then you act like the victim when reality fails to live up to that. I don't do that. Wake up, Leif. She's not here for us. She's here for Father's money. Now, if you're done weeping over the absolute disaster that is our family, I need to think about what all this means for my future. I suggest you do the same. What do I do? Oh, quite the scene there. For the first time since the Lord's Ball, I was finally able to get some sleep. I woke up this morning refreshed, but also a little anxious about the results of the will reading. We arrived back at Frege Manor. Beatrice, Leif, Miriam, and Von Sanctus had all been gathered, along with Miss Tamora, who was accompanying Beatrice as her attorney. The big guy is still gone over there. I wasn't really sure what to say to her after everything that had happened. The hair still felt too awkward to approach her and talk about it. Thank you all for coming here today. As William Frege's close associate, I must express my deepest condolences for your loss. I think I speak for all of Weirengard when I say, enough. Just get on with it. Very well, then. To get straight to the point, the Duke's will was magically sealed when it was given to me. He asked me, his executor, not to submit it to the courts for probate until after his death. Although I imagine none of us expected such a time to come so suddenly. The attorney opened the sealed envelope and quickly scanned over the will. The Duke's assets included sole ownership of several banking houses throughout Weirengard, the equivalent of 10 million gold in various investments. 10 million? 10 million gold. I couldn't even begin to imagine what anyone could do with that amount of wealth. The 10 billion yen incident. The 10 billion gold incident. And lastly, sole control and ownership of the Frege noble house. I, William Frege, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament. I hereby give, devise, and bequeath all of my assets and property, both real and personal, to Jaden von Sanctus. Provided he enters into a legal and binding engagement with my daughter, Leif Frege, within 6 months of the date of my death. What? That's... William must have added that addendum to prevent von Sanctus from trying to steal his empire. But that legal and binding engagement was predicted on Leif accepting it. She clearly didn't want to go through with it, so if she simply waited 6 months, von Sanctus wouldn't have any claim to the estate. In the event that Jaden von Sanctus does not enter into such an engagement within the specified time frame, my assets and property shall be distributed as such. All of House Frege will be divided equally among my children, as per the laws of our kingdom. I was right. William Frege never disinherited Beatrice. And since Beatrice would receive a portion of William's inheritance, she had a motive to commit the murder. I glanced at Miriam. It was hard to read her expression, but something appeared to be on her mind. Without a word, she walked out of the room, ignoring both Beatrice and Leif. Leif, on the other hand, seemed to be in good spirits. Isn't this great, Beatrice? You can lead House Frege now, just as it should have been. Ruby seems upset. I wonder why. I wonder. A big fat motive just dropped in her lap. What was, shoot, what movie is it? I think it's Al Pacino who says, this isn't money. This is a universal serial or universal adapter for a motive. Regarding that, in light of recent events, I believe I should clarify one thing. As per the Slayer rule... The Slayer rule? What, is Lena Inverse going to show up? If Beatrice Frege is found guilty in the current court case, her inheritance will be revoked and divided between you and her sister. I see. I shouldn't feel so happy for myself. Ooh. That can't be all, can it? Surely William added a note of Leif's obligation to marry my son? I'm not sure what you're trying to imply. Leif Frege is an adult with legal autonomy. She is free to make whatever decision she wishes about who she legally marries. Now, if you'll excuse me... Wait! We're not finished yet! Come back here! I'd love to catch up with you, Leif, but I was only allowed out of my cell to attend the reading. I noticed an Inquisition knight outside the door. He seemed to be waiting, or watching Beatrice intently. But don't worry, I'm sure once this misunderstanding is resolved, we can talk all we want about our family's future. Of course! A group of knights led Beatrice out of the manor, and Leif followed after them, leaving Celeste and me alone with Miss Tamora. About what happened? Look, I'm not angry, Cuthbert, just disappointed. It was a... extremely unforeseen situation, and Steelwood clearly put you on the spot. Oh, did she? No, she didn't. No, she didn't. She didn't make me run behind the podium. No, sir. That only happened after the fact. I appreciate... When a woman says she isn't mad, yes, that is... freaking exact. Yes. I'm not mad at you. I'm not upset at all with you, Tyrion. You will pay dearly for this. You felt pressured to do something, and you made a rash decision. I'm sure the court will understand if you withdraw. What? Cuthbert, you're not a prosecutor. You know that, right? Didn't you become an attorney to defend persecuted mages? But Beatrice is guilty. I saw it. I'm not going to argue about this again. You are going to withdraw. This is not up for discussion. I'd always regarded and respected Miss Tamora. She'd never steered me wrong before. Okay, pause. Hold the plot. So here is the dramatic irony, which, by the way, dramatic irony is a reference to when we, the audience, are aware of a plot development that the characters are not. We know that Tyrion's life has been threatened. And so Ruby is actually trying to save Tyrion. But Tyrion doesn't know this. So that's the fun part for us. See, that horrible, like, feeling of, I have to protect this person, but I can't tell them why I have to protect them. Yeah, that's fun. He went behind the desk before anyone could stop him. He actually is legally a prosecutor. Yes, if you go behind that desk, you are a prosecutor. That's just how the law works. Sorry. Maybe she was right. Maybe she knows more about what's going on than I did. And she was still my mentor. I wanted to believe that. I really did. But deep down, I knew that this was wrong. Miss Tamora may believe in Beatrice's innocence, but I couldn't just abandon this case and let her escape justice. My hands were trembling. Why was I so scared right now? I felt Celeste gently hold my shaking hand from behind me. It was warm and comforting. It was that same sensation that I'd felt back then. I took a deep breath. I'm not going to do that, Miss Tamora. What? I'm not going to withdraw. If you believe in Beatrice's innocence, and if you truly believe you're on the right side, then prove it by beating me. Fine. Do whatever you want, but you're only going to make everything more difficult for everyone. Tyrion? Now they're engaging in premarital handholding in public. Does their debauchery know no limits? Oh my gosh! As soon as Miss Tamora stepped out of the room, my body dropped to the floor. Whatever bravery I felt before got replaced with an extreme amount of fatigue. Scaled Lord, that's the first time I've spoken to her like that. But you still did it. You stood your ground. Figuratively, I mean. Right now you're just kind of sitting on the floor. Yeah, I need to take a moment. Can we go back to the ballroom? Hey, so... I didn't want to interrupt whatever that was. Just follow us to the ballroom, Orem. We all returned to the ballroom. You okay? Yeah, I just needed a moment. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I still had a job to do. The will reading bought us a few more hours to investigate the murder. We should take advantage of the new information we just learned. So, where should we start first? Right, I was the prosecutor now. That technically made me his boss for the time being. Oh yeah! I was like, wait, why is he following us? And then I realized, oh yeah, he works for us. Oh man, he's gotta just hate life, you know? Like, my theory is that he's actually he's actually pretty competent, but like he's just surrounded by absolute insanity. You know? This is weird, right? Yes, it is. Yep. Awkwardness aside, I've never really led a task force before. What would Steelwind normally do in this situation? Well, she'd normally have us investigate areas of interest. Right. The context of the investigation tends to change after each round of court proceedings. What we're lacking right now is physical evidence. What would Steelwind do? That's... I know, right? I mean, she's actually, like, in Ace Attorney-like standards, she is a pretty great stand-up prosecutor. She's not absolutely vile like some prosecutors. Or absolute saints. Like our dear Clavier Gavin. Could you and the Inquisition search the gallery in Beatrice's room? Maybe you can find evidence of how the Sword of Spell Eating was stolen. Whatever you say, boss. That covers the Inquisition, but what are we going to do? The Duke's inheritance plays a large role in this case. Even if it's not valid, we should take a look at the modified will that he was drafting. It might give us some insight about what he was really planning to do with his inheritance. I just can't wrap my head around it. I knew he wasn't the best dad, but I still can't believe she actually killed him. And for what? Wealth and power? Wealth, fame, power. These were the things that Gold Roger... Let's see. There once was a man named Tyrion Cuthbert, and he was king of the prosecutors. No, that's Edgeworth. Edgeworth was the king of the prosecutors. And that's just how the aristocracy works. Even the weakest noble has a large amount of political power. Sometimes I feel lucky that I grew up in Cornhaven. Where should we go next? William retreated into his study to draft a new will. Even if it's not valid, we should try to look for it there. It might give us some insight into the headspace he was in that night.
Yeah.
Alright, look at my runestone. Ah, there it is. Thanks for fixing my rune. Oh, never mind. Yeah. We got it.
Arcanum.
No magic in here? No magic in here. Alright. Let's go to the murder scene again, I guess. Come on, where is it? As we entered William Frigga's study, we spotted a small figure rifling through the drawers of his desk. Why isn't it here? Where else would he put it? So, quick pause, too. I think I mentioned before, they're making a sequel to this, and apparently, one of the things they've already announced is that Miriam Frigga is actually going to be the character, the assistant for Tyrion in the next game. Isn't that interesting? Miriam? What? She banged her head before she quickly stood. She tried to subtly slide the drawers closed, but I'd seen it clearly. This is a crime scene. What are you doing here, Miriam? As if that's any of your business. Considering that I'm the prosecutor, it's very much my business. I glanced at the knights stationed outside the room. They should have stopped her from entering, but they were probably intimidated by her status. However, this could be a blessing in disguise. She was clearly looking for something in this room, and I had a feeling that I knew what it was. It was my attorney's written stone. I should have known you were an attorney when you showed it to me back at the academy. Yeah, you almost blew our cover, Tyrion. It's a habit. To think you'd be so enamored with such a mundane piece of artificery. I just compulsively show my badge to people. I'm sorry. What were you looking for? What could be so important that you'd disturb an active crime scene? It's none of your concern. I'm merely trying to find something that belongs to me. Really? Because I have a feeling that we might be looking for the same thing. You're looking for the will that your father was drafting, aren't you? That's... Were you trying to destroy it before we could get to it? No, of course not! I just needed to see it for myself. Did she really do this? Did Sephiroth draft this will? The modified will. Why are you so determined to see the drafted will, Miriam? I just wanted to see what my father's final wishes were. But your father already had a will filed previously. Wouldn't that be enough? You also suspect something, don't you? Of course not! Beatrice would never do something like this! Miss Frigga, I never even mentioned Beatrice. Beatrice! I know we're not on the best terms, but please understand that we're just trying to get to the truth. I don't think your sister did this, but she may have been involved. She may have worked with someone else to orchestrate her father's death. Unlike Leif, she didn't immediately deny it. Yeah, where is the will? Where is the will, Miriam? I need to see it. I don't know. I haven't been able to find it. I recall that she was frantically searching William's desk earlier. She was probably telling the truth. It should have been here, but I can't find it. He locked the door when he began drafting it. In addition to that, the Inquisition closed the area off after the body was discovered. That means that someone took it during the lockdown. William's modified will. On the night of the murder, William Frigga retreated into his study to modify his will. He died before this will could be submitted, so it's not valid. The draft was supposedly stolen during the lockdown. It's likely that the murderer took and/or destroyed it. It was probably stolen by whoever murdered him, right? Yeah, that would make the most sense. Which means that whoever did this wanted to nullify whatever was written on it. It was looking more and more like the motive behind this was William's inheritance. Anyways, it looks like we won't be able to find the will, but the fact that it was taken must imply something. For now, we should follow our other leads. We still don't know who committed the murder and how. Don't we already know the how? The murderer stole the sword of spell eating and used it to break into the study. That's true, but think about how they would have needed to move around the manor. The murder took place on the first floor, within William Frigga's study. But the gallery was on the second floor. They would have needed to go upstairs, steal the sword from the gallery, and then use it to nullify the lock on the study. Not only that, they would have needed to go back upstairs and plant the sword in Beatrice's room. About that, if someone conspired with Beatrice to do this, why would they plant the sword in her room? By the way, so, you remember how they keep mentioning another character? I couldn't help but notice, right? Couldn't help but notice that, there was a dog that randomly showed up when Tyrion went into the hallway. last time. When he was looking for a place to play chess, there was a dog, and the dog left. I'm wondering if the dog, because familial bond still is a spell in our evidence, I'm thinking the dog is involved in this somehow. The dog, like the canonical ending to Silent Hill 2. It was the dog all along. That's a good point. Maybe they had a falling out. Her partner might have tried to betray her by pinning the blame on her. But if that was true, why wouldn't she just sell them out and make a deal with Steelwind? It would be because of the Slayer rule. Also, I'm pretty sure Celeste's eye color is different. I don't remember her eyes being that particular shade before. Something's up with her. Again, I'm continuing my prediction that she's a dragon. I think she's a dragon. Which has interesting implications for Tyrion, but anyway. Slayer rule. I remember the guy at the will reading it also mentioned that. What does that mean? It was a law passed by the crown centuries ago. If someone is involved in another person's death, even accidentally, they will not be allowed to inherit the deceased property. Wait. Oh, okay. I was like, huh? Oh, so if you somehow in any way are involved in the death of someone else, you can't inherit their stuff? Okay, interesting. So even if Beatrice wasn't directly responsible, she'd lose her cut of the inheritance if she took a plea deal. More importantly, it didn't sound like Miriam believed in Beatrice's innocence either. If that was true, what else could she tell us? Let's talk about Beatrice's guilt. Listen. The sin that you committed 6 years ago is the reason all of this happened. I'm pretty sure that's a real law, and what it's really called. Really? Really? Okay. I've learned something new. The Slayer rule, huh? I thought it involved Gowry and Lena. Hang on. What is the Slayer rule? Oh, yeah. It is real. It is. There you go. Beatrice's guilt. Okay. Miriam, it almost sounds like you suspect Beatrice as well. Am I incorrect? I don't know what to think anymore. Why else would she threaten me? She threatened you. Oh. Unless Wikipedia is lying to Wikipedia would never lie to you. There is nothing on Wikipedia that's made up, exaggerated, or has biased article writing on it, for sure. Wait, she was threatened? Miriam, did Beatrice threaten you in some way? What? Of course not! Your testimony yesterday was quite convenient for the defense. It almost got the whole case thrown out. And Leif didn't seem to understand what was going on either. With the way she gave her testimony yesterday, it was almost like she was covering for you. Does she seriously not know? Please, promise me that you won't tell anyone about this. I won't tell anyone. What happened? About an hour after the murder, I was approached by Ruby Tamora. She gave me a list of statements to give in my testimony. The statements weren't true, but she assured me that my status would protect me from any scrutiny. What? She had information that I had tried to keep secret, and she threatened to make it public unless I cooperated with her. No, she would never do that. I'm telling the truth. Please, you can't tell Tamora that I told you. She'll ruin me. The eye showed that her fear is genuine. She wasn't lying. I've seen how she defends her clients. Forgery, bribery, blackmail. She'll do whatever it takes to win. It doesn't matter what you say. I know you're just like her. These rumors, were they really true the whole time? Oh, is my prediction coming true? That Ruby Tamora is a baddie? When in more ways than one? I think so. Yep. Okay. So, prediction number 2 is the guy who was at the beginning, at the end of that first case, who was like the advisor who showed up out of nowhere. He was going to end up being a dragon too. I think he's actually literally the Scaled Lord. Because they brought up that whole thing about how, if the Scaled Lords show up, he automatically has a place in the government. which is a weird rule to exist unless you're going to do something with it. Celeste is a dragon, and Lucio Steelwind is actually a good guy. So 1 out of those 4 predictions has come true so far. No, absolutely not. Hey, Tyrion, are you okay? Now wasn't the time to doubt myself. There was too much at stake right now, and I wasn't done yet. We should check on Commander White. He might have found something. Okay. Just don't push yourself, okay? Yeah. I'd have plenty of time to think about this later. As we moved around the manor, I peeked into the sitting room to see if Von Sanctus was still there. Yes! I'm gonna troll Von Sanctus. But that's impossible. Mia Fey was a good guy. That's true. What if Mia was bad? I didn't see him there, but I spotted the Grand General. Oh, no! Grand General out of nowhere. Lucio everywhere. He's even got an eye patch. Tyrion child. This aura. An enemy? Here? You must be daft if you think I wouldn't notice your presence, Luminite. What? Did he notice us? I was barely inside the room. Before I had a chance to respond, Lucio grabbed the handle of his great axe and charged toward us. He swung his weapon, using its hefty weight to propel him forward and close the distance between us. Wait! Wait! I brought up my arms to block his blow, but in hindsight, that probably wouldn't have done much against a weapon that large. Protegus! Open my eyes. Oh, that's a new, hang on. That's a new pose for Celeste. Yeah, okay. Celeste was now standing between the Grand General and me. I'm not sure what happened, but it looks like she'd knocked him several feet back. Oh, ho, ho! Oh, it's you two. That's all you have to say? You could have killed him! He shouldn't have snuck up on me like that. I almost cleaved him in two. Tyrion didn't do anything wrong. Who the hell do you think we are? Oh no, it's a Gurren Lagann reference! What happened? Why is his aura so much stronger? Celeste, it's fine. I'm not hurt. She looked more than a little irate right now, like an irate gamer, but she begrudgingly put away her sword. The Grand General was one of the people with a motive to murder William Frege, not to mention that he was clearly no stranger to violence. He might know something. At the very least, he might have some knowledge about William and his affairs. All right, Lucio. Check it out. It's an attorney's runestone. It proves that I'm a certified attorney. I don't understand what you want from me. Tyrion and Celeste. If looks could kill. McCoy, one might misinterpret that look of yours as murderous intent. Just your approval, big. Yeah, that's right. I want Lucio Senpai to notice me. Oh, I guess you do have some battle instincts after all. I honestly wasn't sure since you so obviously have a silver spoon stuck up your little Celeste. Such lack of respect and discipline. If you were one of my soldiers, I'd have you hung. If I were one of your soldiers, I'd hang myself. Anyways, Grand General, you were here at the Lord's Ball when the murder occurred. I was. Do you mind if I ask you some questions about what you thought you saw that night? If that's okay with you? You don't need to be scared of this guy, Tyrion. That was easy for her to say. I suppose I must oblige, considering that my daughter has so unceremoniously thrust her responsibilities onto you. Yeah? I'm sorry about what happened to your daughter. I'm sure that you're very worried. It's her own fault for exerting herself despite her injuries. There's a clear line between bravery and foolishness. How can you say that? Your daughter did everything she could to see justice done. By prosecuting the heiress of House Frege, she had very little evidence to substantiate a conviction. If she wanted to strike a blow to a rival house, She should have made sure her first attack would be her last. But now, if Beatrice Frege is found innocent, any hopes of an alliance between House Frege and House Steelwind will be completely annihilated. Ah, interesting. The night of the murder. Where were you throughout the night, Grand General? I so loathe gatherings like that, and I couldn't do with all the badgering about the recent news. I was in this room, but then I received word that the Duke's lost heiress made an unexpected appearance. She was supposedly speaking with the Crown Prince, so I made my way to the ballroom. Did you speak with them at any point? No. I kept my distance and stayed near the King's Guard. I needed to make sure she wouldn't try anything. Was this because you were wary of Beatrice Frege? Anyone who knew Beatrice Frege would be wary of her, and her allegiance with Ruby Tamura is only more concerning. The Crown Prince has always been a bleeding heart, and the Freges are taught to sharpen their tongues from birth. I needed to make sure that she wouldn't try to interfere with his engagement to my daughter. You were worried that she was going to try to take Aster back. I was, but it was clear that that wasn't her intention. But you did overhear their conversation? What were they talking about? Their conversation was completely inane. It was all just small talk. Lady Frege spent most of her time entertaining Prince Alaric. Right, the younger prince was there too. Beatrice's alibi. I knew that Beatrice had some role in the murder, even if she wasn't directly responsible. Did she have some goal when speaking with the two princes? Was she trying to establish an alibi? You went to the ballroom when you heard that Beatrice had returned. Was this before or after the lockdown? It was before the lockdown. I was just doing a quick save. I'm so paranoid because of my computer... when my computer crashed the other night. That sounded about right. That meant that she was present before the theft was reported. And did you see her leave at any point? No. She spoke with the two princes for quite a while. She didn't leave their side until she was arrested for the Duke's murder. So she was accounted for the entire night. Beatrice's alibi. Beatrice Frege was seen speaking with Aster de Wierengard and Alaric de Wierengard during the Lord's Ball. She spent the entire night speaking with them. She was also accounted for before the Sword of Spell Eating was reported missing. Lucio Steelwind, Aster, and several members of the King's Guard can confirm this. But her thoughts said that she was an accomplice in William's death. How did she participate if she was with the princes the whole time? Thank you for answering our questions, Grand General. I'm merely repaying my daughter's debt to you. He'd been surprisingly cooperative, but that didn't lift any suspicion off of him just yet. I would need to find more evidence if I wanted to know for sure. Anyways, we should probably move somewhere else. Let's go, Celeste. McCoy. What? Your spellcasting is undisciplined, but your battle stance and reflexes are commendable. You have my respect as a warrior. As if that means anything coming from you. What an undisciplined and defiant brat. Alright. We're gonna go somewhere else now, bye. Let's go to Beatrice's room again. Keep it in that corner. Don't let it get away. Get away from him! As we entered Beatrice's room, we saw the Inquisition cornering something near the bed. Ah! There it is! It was some sort of animal. A wolf, to be exact. Wait, is that... I remember spotting that same wolf on the night of the Lord's Ball. Ah, yes! Haha! Has it been in the house since the murder? Intruders must protect Queen. I'm surrounded. I must protect territory from enemies. He must have seen the Inquisition as intruders in his territory. But did that mean he saw this room as his home? I slowly started to walk towards him. Wait, Tyrion! Stay back, kid. There's no telling what it'll do. I ignored them and continued to approach him. Don't worry. I'm not here to hurt you. Oh. This human. He can speak language of dog. It was the same thing that happened with Violetta. I could communicate with any animal. Why are you talking to it? This was a good opportunity before me. I had access to a witness that no one else could talk to. And one that couldn't lie to me. Hey, you want to look at my runestone, doggy? Look, Tracker. Wait, how do you know his name? It's my attorney's runestone. Rock. It's fitted with artificery. I can use it to take pictures of evidence and crime scenes. Rock. Okay, Tracker. Tracker, is that your name? How did you... Yes, Tracker is Tracker. That's the name Queen gave to me. Tracker, the dog, age 3. The best boy. The bestest boy, whoever. Bested a boy. Tracker gestured toward Leif when he mentioned his queen. He called you his queen. Do you know him, Leif? Yes, but how? How are you talking to it? That's... I was so distracted by Tracker that I didn't realize how strange this scene must look to everyone else. I'm a dog whisperer. You've never mentioned that before. Do you honestly expect us to believe something like that? But Tracker says he can understand him. He told me himself. Wait, how do you know that? Oh, it's yours, is it? Hold the phone. Is Leif the killer? Is Beatrice innocent? Oh. Hold the phone. Leif and Tracker. So Leif, how are you able to communicate with Tracker? Tracker is my familiar. Familiar. So you have the same magical bond Harold has with his monkey. Familial bond allowed the caster to telepathically speak with their familiar, as is the spell that we got, yep. That must be how she could understand him. You never mentioned him during questioning. It wasn't relevant to the investigation, and I've been keeping him a secret from my family. I suppose that makes sense. I doubt William Frege would have allowed you to keep an animal in his home. Well, I don't appreciate you keeping this info from us. I'm just glad no one got hurt because of it. Aside from this dog, we haven't really found anything new. They couldn't find any more physical evidence of the theft. It looked like we'd run into another dead end. Unless... the night of the murder. Tracker, I saw you on the night of the murder. Well, innocent. Yeah. Innocent, in quotes. What? Tracker! Ruh-roh. He's supposed to stay in this room. Wait, is that why you won't allow the servants to enter it? I didn't want to keep him in Beatrice's room, but he was very insistent that he stay here. Tracker liked the ambience. What? Tracker liked the ambience. Right. Wait, if you live in this room, did you see who brought the sword of spell eating here? I already asked him about that, but he didn't see anyone. He must have been taking a nap. Either that, he was roaming outside even though I told him to stay here. Tracker see a lot of other things, though. Tracker see many new people that night. Right, he was roaming the manor during the Lord's Ball. He must have seen a lot of new people. Wait, if he was walking around, did he see something that the other witnesses didn't? What did Tracker see? Can you tell us what you saw on the night of the murder, Tracker? Tracker see rat people. This might have been more difficult than I expected. I need you to be more specific. Can you go in order? Tell me about everyone that you saw that night. Okay. Tracker was taking nap in room, but Tracker woke up from loud sounds outside. Tracker hears small things running in the walls. Running in the walls? Tracker called Queen, but she didn't answer, so Tracker decided to check sound alone. Tracker follows sound outside. That's when Tracker smelled the bad smell. Bad smell? That's when Tracker smelled flying rat. You smelled a flying rat? Did you mean like a pigeon? Tracker could smell where rat was, so Tracker bork at him and bite. He tastes bad. Tracker must have scared rat, because he fell onto the floor and dropped his stick. It's the monkey, isn't it? I'm gonna call it now, it's the monkey. The monkey. Oh, it was the monkey. Because he's being vague. He wouldn't be vague otherwise. The rat had a stick. Tracker could see them now, so Tracker did one final bork to scare them off. The rats were scared and went back into the walls. It went into the walls? That's when Tracker picked up the stick rat dropped. Queen finally answered Checker. She told him to go back to his room and hide. After message, Checker brings Stick back to room for inspection. Do you remember what time this encounter happened? What is time? Oh my. What did he say, Tyrion? Did he see anything? Well, he definitely saw something. Okay, let's try to take a moment to work through this. Tracker is an animal, and despite being able to speak with him, his use of words is very primitive. So you should carefully examine each of his statements. The first thing he heard was small things running in the walls. What did Tracker hear when he woke up? You recall that someone else observed something similar that night. Tracker saw... rats running in the vents? No, Tracker heard small things running in the walls. In the context of everything that happened that night, he must have been talking about something specific. Was it the lockdown during the Lord's Ball? Small things running in the walls. The context of everything that happened. Didn't someone else mention hearing the same thing?
What if?
Heard rats running during the Lord's Ball? In the vents? No. Glass shattering. A dog barking. What did Tracker hear when he woke up? So Tracker heard the lockdown during the Lord's Ball? No. From the gallery? No. Glass shattering?
What if?
In William's study? Or what? That's one of those things where it's like, what exactly is it specifically wanting? The thief
What if?
caused the lockdown in the gallery? No. Because, like, somebody stole something, obviously. But, Tracker heard rats running during the Lord's Ball. From the gallery, no. William's study. Who mentioned it, though? That's the thing. Someone else mentioned it, but I don't know who.
What if?
Tracker heard the lockdown. There was glass shattering, but that wouldn't be... right? Glass shattering in the vents, no. Was it Harold heard rats running from the gallery? Was it Harold? Heard glass... He heard the lockdown. Yeah, nice. Because Harold, I think, is involved somehow, right? I just don't know, like, what this is supposed to be about on this one. Let's see.
Maybe.
I do not remember what Harold said. That's the problem I'm running into. Yeah, that one... Turn. I can't. Wait, that was it? Oh. The servants were complaining about rats running through the air vent, so they sent me to take care of it. I heard one of them running in the vents upstairs, and I followed it here. I figured he had nowhere else to go, so I opened it up and put a trap down. He must have heard the rats that Jan mentioned. They weren't actually running in the walls, they were running in the vents. The next thing he did was call the queen, but she didn't answer. Why didn't Leif answer Tracker's message? He was referring to Leif, but she wasn't with him at the time. Was she dancing with Tyrion? He must have called out to her telepathically. Leif was distracted by... Beatrice? No, I didn't want Tracker to leave the room. He contacted, she would have said something in response, so something else must have happened. The familial bond was nullified by the anti-magic field? Yeah. Leif didn't respond because she never got Tracker's message. There we go. The telepathic capabilities created by familial bond were disabled by the anti-magic field, which meant that this encounter happened during the lockdown. So, that covered his first two statements, but I wasn't really sure what to make of the flying rat he saw. Tracker, why did you refer to the rat as flying? Because rats don't usually jump and fly. Yes, I've got that. Is it possible that what you saw wasn't really a rat? Rats are rats. They're small things that run and hide. So rat is a general term for him. He uses it to refer to small animals that are acting suspiciously. Anyways, with everything I knew, his last statement didn't make any sense. Why did Tracker finally hear Leif? He said that the queen finally answered him, and this happened after he picked up the stick. But that shouldn't have been possible due to the anti-magic field. Why didn't Leif answer Tracker's message? That's not what's supposed to be there, I'm thinking. Let's see.
What if...
The stick, right, that was stolen was actually the Sword of Spell Eating. No? Really? Oh, wait. No, the Tracker obtained... Oh, I said it wrong. The Tracker obtained. There we go. Tracker, about that stick you found. Where did you put it after you came back to this room? Tracker hides stick in safe space, under the bed. Well, that's darn right. And this stick. Did it look like the sword that my friend is carrying? What? Hey, your friend stole my other stick. Wait, your other stick? I see. Yeah, Tracker found it while he was hiding from the Metal Men. Metal Men? Is he referring to the King's Guard? He must have left the bedroom when they were searching for the Sword of Spell Eating. Wait, are you the one who stole Celeste's sword? Tracker? Did Tracker do a bad? Yes. It's as I suspected. Tracker was the one who brought the Sword of Spell Eating here. What? I have no idea how or why, but the Sword of Spell Eating was lying in a hallway somewhere. Tracker found it and brought it back to Beatrice's room. His room. That can't be. So the person who framed Beatrice for the theft was... If it weren't for Tracker, the Inquisition would have never honed in on Beatrice at all. But why would the Sword of Spell Eating be lying in a random hallway? Leif, do you mind if I borrow Tracker for a little bit? It's all Queen. Hey, Queen, he smell good. Tracker, trust him. Thanks, I guess. Okay, but only if I can come with you. I knew Miriam's position, but how did Leif feel about me prosecuting her sister? I nodded to Leif, but I also sent a subtle gesture to Celeste to keep an eye on her. She silently nodded and slowly followed behind her. All right, Tracker, can you take us to the hallway where you found these rats? Sure thing, King. It sounded like I'd received a promotion. Yeah. The dog is he likes us now. Okay. Da 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 da. Let's go to the hall. I allowed Tracker to lead me to the location where he found the sword of spell eating. Surprisingly, it was fairly close to Beatrice's room. He knows they're going to get married because they're fellow blondes. That's right. How do you do, fellow blonde? He apparently didn't travel very far before he met these rats he mentioned. As we continued toward our destination, Checker suddenly became extremely tense. Checker, what's wrong? Enemy. He was growling toward the end of the hallway. Aster was there, and so was Eris. Why does Eris look so evil? How did she even get access to Frega Manor? Oh? Before we even had a chance to react, Tracker jumped between Eris and me. He began barking at her angrily. Oh, dear. Tracker, stop that! Leif tried to calm Tracker down, but he was undeterred. He continued to bark at Eris, and it looked like he was taking all of Leif's strength to hold him back. Aster, My apologies, Mr. Cuthbert. I am deathly afraid of dogs. I understand why you're... Bark, bark, bark. I have to go. Before I could get a word in, Aster quickly excused himself and ran down the hallway. Okay, Aster is clearly a cat person. I don't know. I'm terribly sorry. He's not usually like this. It's to be expected. I'm not sure why, but animals have always disliked me. Ah! What was Eris doing here? She said that her father was friends with Beatrice, but was she involved in this case somehow? I guess it didn't matter. I didn't come here to talk to anyone. I needed to examine this hallway and search for clues. Let's talk to Eris anyway, and present our runestone. Of course. I see that old habits die hard. Sorry, am I being obnoxious with this thing? Not at all. I'd be more disappointed if you didn't try to show me the badge. It's a runestone. Of course. Please show me your badge, Mr. Attorney. What are you doing here, Eris? I should be asking you the same thing. I recall you telling me that you were a defense attorney. And yet here you are, prosecuting a defendant. You're even leading the Inquisition that you supposedly hated so much. But to answer your question, I'm here on behalf of Beatrice. My sister? Yes, Timura is occupied handling other aspects of the case. So she sent me here to investigate on her behalf. What? I'm surprised she trusted you to handle something so important. How do you two even know each other? You said she was acquainted with your father, but... we met during her days at the Imperial Academy. We both studied illusion magic together. I've always been a patron of hers, when in my position would be saddened to see her in this dreadful situation. Okay. That's all you gotta say? Really? Okay. You want to talk about anybody else, like Celeste? What do you think about this, Eris? No. What? I don't seem to have any dialogue for that. I see. That was a strange way to say that she doesn't know anything about it. Oh no, she's all meta! She's a meta character. Stop it! Stop it! Do you have anything to say about Aster? No. That's too bad. Anyway, let's examine. There's an air vent over here. It looks like it's gone from the ceiling to the floor, from the window to the wall to the... Is this where that rat escaped to, Tracker? That's where the jumping rat went. I thought you said it was a flying rat. Tracker, see that too. It would probably be better to just move on. Okay, so one of them was definitely the monkey. One of them was absolutely, positively the monkey. You know that. Do the monkey with me. Anyways, where did this rat come from? Rat come out the other wall. Do you mean the vent on the opposite side? Yes. Tracker saw flying rat escape that way. What was this rat doing here in the first place? What? What do you see? I'm seeing small traces of illusion magic inside them. They're in the shape of droplets, and some of them are shaped like footprints. Footprints? What kind of footprints? They look like they came from some kind of animal. It's hard to tell what kind, though. I also see some small handprints, too. What? The traces also go deep inside these vents. It's the same for the vents on the other side, too. Why would there be traces of illusion magic inside the vents? What spell could possibly have left those traces? As I told you many months ago, illusion spells tend to do one of two things. They either create freestanding illusions, or they can disguise an existing creature. Spells only leave traces on the objects they're cast on. A freestanding illusion wouldn't have left traces like this. A disguised creature must have been inside those vents at this point. These small red droplets have to be blood, most likely from a creature affected by an illusion. But these vents are tiny. No one would be able to fit inside them. Tracker could see them now, so Tracker did one final bork to scare them off. The rats were scared and went back into the walls. But a rat would be able to fit in these vents. Well, yeah, I guess that would be true. But that would mean a rat had an illusion spell active on it at the time. It's not only that. Okay. He said that the queen finally answered him. And that happened after he picked up a stick. Why was it strange for Tracker to hear Leif's voice? But that contradicted something else we knew it was active at the time.
What if...
The anti-magic field was active throughout this hallway. What? No, not detect magic. There. But that shouldn't have been possible because of the anti-magic field. Tracker saw this rat during the lockdown. They could have been inside the anti-magic field created by the lockdown. How could the rat be invisible during the lockdown? There can only be one way that rat could have an illusion spell active on it. Wait, you can't mean... The rat was holding... Wait. Was... holding the sword of spell eating? The rat was holding the sword of spell eating. All right, Tracker is... we have a dog's testimony. Yes! On the night of the murder, Tracker smelled something strange and followed the scent to the hallway north of Beatrice's bedroom. There he saw a flying rat come out from the northern air vent. Tracker barked at this rat and scared it away. When this happened, Rat supposedly dropped the sword of spell eating. Tracker took the sword and brought it back to Beatrice's room. Yes, there we go. What are you going to do, Mr. Wright? Have the dog take the stand? Such an absurd thing to say. What? That can't be right. A rat wouldn't have the strength or hands to carry a sword. Tracker's vocabulary is primitive and limited. He uses the word rat to describe small creatures that hide and act suspiciously. Like a monkey? But even if it wasn't an actual rat, it still could have been a human, right? Was it a rat man from Castlevania? What are we talking about here? You're right. It would have been a small animal. A small animal with the strength and dexterity to traverse a small air vent while holding a sword. Sorry, but I really have to ask, is that a monkey riding on your back? Yes, this is my familiar, Eugene. Right. No. Are you serious? Sirius said seriously. Ah ha 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 ha. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And you know why I'm loving it? I'll tell you why I'm loving it. Because I already said that the monkey was responsible for this, and the game's going along with me. Though at the same time, when the plot explores it, you have to wonder if this is a red herring or not. We know that Harold had a motive to kill William Frege. He was planning to defund the Haraldson Hall of History. They had an argument that night, and that's when William Frege decided that he was going to defund Harold's museums. He must have struck a deal with Beatrice, and with Beatrice's portion of House Frege, she could have easily kept his museums funded. He could have faked the robbery and sent his familiar to murder William. I can't believe this. And there's something else that Tracker said. Tracker could smell where Rat was, so Tracker borked at him. Tracker must have scared Rat, because he fell onto the floor and dropped his stick. The rat had a stick? Tracker, you said you had to smell to see where the rat was. And when he dropped his stick, you were finally able to see him. Does this mean you couldn't visually see him before he fell down? Ah. Yep, Tracker couldn't see the rat with his eyes. So Tracker used his nose to see it. The monkey was invisible. No one would have noticed a small invisible animal. In addition to that, he could move through the air vents. Eugene would have been nearly undetectable that night. Beatrice is a master of illusion magic. It's possible that she cast invisibility on Eugene. Invisibility, school illusion, incantation, occultare. Clap both hands together, duration of 1 hour. Concentration, no. One of the highest forms of illusion magic. Okay. This spell makes the target creature or object completely invisible. While invisible, the target will be completely transparent and undetectable visually. If targeting a creature, this spell will also affect anything that creature is wearing or holding. And then there is the position of this air vent. We're currently in the hallway just north of Beatrice's room, and this air vent connects to the ground floor. If we align the two floor maps together, this vent must lead to the storage room. Right, the air vent there curved upwards. This must be where it leads. And according to Jan, that air vent led directly to William's study. It would have been the perfect route to enter William's study and leave undetected. But he wouldn't have needed to nullify the lock to enter that room. Why would he need to use the Sword of Spell Eating at all? Because of familial bond, they can telepathically communicate with each other. Harold probably needed Eugene to hold the sword so he could tell him exactly where to go. The sword's magic affects anyone magically connected to the wielder, and familial bond connects them magically. It makes sense now. Harold could have easily faked the robbery to take suspicion off of him. It's even possible that he was lying about how the display glass was shattered. But I've known Lord Haraldson for many years. I can't believe that he'd be involved in this. She may have known Harold for a long time, but she's never read his thoughts. His thoughts could be very hostile and rude, despite his kind of expression. He was very good at hiding what he was truly feeling. And Beatrice, there's no way she'd participate in a plan like this. Look, Leif, I know you don't want to suspect your sister, but Beatrice would never trust anyone enough to work together like this. She is completely blind. She wouldn't have much of a choice. She's not the type of person to trust her accomplice to stay quiet. She wouldn't leave a loose end open like that. She could have been working alone in her condition, and I couldn't think of any other way she'd be involved in this. Anyways, we're finished here, aren't we? Yes. Thank you for lending Tracker to us, Leif. I only wanted to help you to find out what really happened. I know my sister is innocent. I hope once you find out the truth, you'll see that. I guess we'll have to see. Now, if you'll excuse me. So that's it, right? We finally know who committed the murder? And if we could get Harold to confess on the stand, he might reveal Beatrice's involvement as well. If he did that, I might be able to convince her and Miss Tamora to take a plea deal. Although, knowing Miss Tamora, that would be easier said than done. Anyways, this is definitely the lead that we've been looking for. But is it really enough? We still don't have any physical evidence. It'll have to do for now. We're running out of time. We'll just have to call Harold to the stand to testify about what he did that night. If I can push him far enough, I might be able to catch him lying. But I doubted it would be that easy. He clearly had a good poker face. Just how much would he be able to hide his true thoughts? I already gave my statement to the Inquisition. Is my testimony really necessary? Sorry, old-timer. My orders came straight from the prosecutor. We're gonna need you on the stand today. I see. I'll do what I can to help. Ooh, yes. I'm glad we can talk like this again. I'd forgotten how much I miss speaking with you. Yes, I only hope our next conversation isn't within a cell. Beatrice, on that night, what were you talking to Father about? I'm sorry, Leif, but I can't tell you that. Beatrice, I just want you to know that I believe in your innocence. How are you so sure? Because you're my sister. I know you. Leif, Do you know the things I've done over the last 5 years? No. I can only imagine how difficult it was to survive. Survival would never be enough. I've had too much stolen from me. I've been denied what was rightfully mine, and it's taken me years to finally wrench it back. What are you talking about? I know you suffered under him, and I understand your pain. Once this trial is over, we can finally heal. I've already taken care of Steelwind. I simply need that boy to have an unfortunate accident. You still have that dog, don't you? And you're on good terms with Tyrion, too. It should be easy for you to facilitate another unfortunate accident. What? I can tell from the sound of your voice that you don't have the stomach for such things. No matter, I can take care of that. But I suggest you keep quiet about this. Or you might end up meeting the same fate as father. Leif trembled, her hand going to her mouth in realization of what her sister was saying. She said nothing in response. She just ran from the dungeons. Must you flaunt your ability so recklessly? You're making me envious. My hell's heiress. What do you want? Why wouldn't I want to see my favorite little mole rat? Okay. Court is now resumed for the trial of Beatrice Frege. Let us review yesterday's proceedings. There was much debate over William Frege's inheritance. More specifically, it was unknown whether the defendant had any claim to her father's inheritance. This detail was crucial in determining whether the defendant even had a motive to commit the murder. Luckily, the victim's will was supposedly read today, and it is now part of the public record. What were the results of the will reading, Mr. Cuthbert? William Frege was planning to leave all of his assets to Jaden von Sanctus, his hopeful son-in-law. However, this was predicated on the condition that Jaden marry the victim's daughter, Leif. It was clear to anyone present that Miss Leif would never follow through on this engagement. If the engagement is not made in 6 months, William Frege's assets would be divided among his 3 daughters. I see. So there was no mention of the defendant's disinheritance. Correct, Your Honor. This means that the defendant did have something to gain from the victim's death. Your Honor, despite the confusion around the victim's inheritance, there is still very little physical evidence that implicates my client. May I remind you that Miriam Frege was not telling the truth in yesterday's proceedings? That itself is extremely suspect. And William Frege was clearly not above manipulation and lying. You can't prove that she knowingly gave false testimony. I'll admit that I can't prove that. I'll also admit that there's a lack of apparent physical evidence to substantiate our case. Which is why the prosecution would like to call Harold Haraldson to the stand. Lord Haraldson? The sword of spell eating clearly plays a large role in the murder, and its theft is one of the few pieces of physical evidence in this case. As the gallery's curator, I believe he can further elaborate on how the sword was stolen that night. More specifically, I could find out more about what he did on the night of the murder. I see. Bailiff, please escort Lord Haraldson to the stand. Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Of course. My name is Harold Haraldson. I am the owner and curator of the Haraldson Hall of History, located in Homereth. That's quite the alliterative occupation. Harold, could you please testify to the court about how you discovered that the sword of spell eating was stolen? If it will help. Witness testimony. The judge is lacking some personality in this game but it's hard to top the judge from the Ace Attorney series. It's really hard to top him. I don't know what's going on. My ideas are usually incorrect, Mr. Wright. I was keeping an eye on my gallery's exhibits when I realized that my familiar hadn't returned. I called to him telepathically, but he didn't respond. I became worried, so I went around the manor to search for him.
About an hour later, I returned to the gallery and discovered that the exhibit holding the sword of spell eating was completely destroyed. The artifact was missing, so I reported the crime to the knights at the ball, and they activated a discreet lockdown. Luckily, we found the sword and my familiar later that night.
And so you went to search for your monkey. And that's why you didn't witness the theft?
Yes, the thief was probably waiting for me to leave. They must have wanted to commit the crime without anyone seeing them.
Or his testimony is completely full of it. His search for Eugene must have been a cover that he's using to hide his actions that night. So how do you prove that? That's the question. Cross-examination. Let's press. Gallery's exhibits. Are you referring to Eugene?
Eugene?
Eugene Haroldson, Your Honor. It's the name of the witness's familiar.
Yes, Eugene is a spry orangutan monkey. He helps me with my day-to-day.
I see. Anyways, you said that he hadn't returned. Does this mean he left you earlier in the night?
Yes, he always likes to explore large buildings like Frega Manor, but he usually doesn't leave for that long.
I called to him telepathically, but he didn't respond. Okay. Does he typically ignore you like that?
Sometimes. He's a young boy, so he likes to have his privacy. I try not to pry, but I was wary of what would happen if a noble or a knight came across him. He usually knows not to bother people, but you never know what might happen.
You became worried when around the manor. You left the gallery room.
Yes, as I said, I was worried that something had happened to Eugene.
Where did you go during your search?
Eugene usually knows to stay out of people's bedrooms, so I went downstairs and searched for him there. I checked the bathroom, sitting room, and coat room. Then I finally checked the kitchen and pantry. He might have gone there to steal some snacks.
But you didn't find him in any of those places.
No, I didn't.
About an hour later, I returned to the gallery and discovered that the exhibit holding the sword... Okay. If I recall correctly, the glass was completely shattered. This is despite the presence of several abjuration spells that protected it.
Yes, it would have taken an extremely powerful spell to break it like that. As you saw, the glass display was shattered into pieces.
Harold told me that the thief shattered the glass while the protective wards were active. But if he was involved, could he have just been lying? The artifact was missing. Right. The sword of spell eating makes its wielder immune to magical effects. What use would the lockdown have been?
Honestly, not much. The wielder would have been immune to the anti-magic fields and the spells that prevented people from leaving. But at that point, the King's Guard just wanted to activate it for good measure.
Luckily, we found the sword and my familiar, okay? His statement just now was missing some details. I needed to ask for something I could use against him. How did you find Eugene, given the anti-magic field? That's a good question. How did you eventually find Eugene that night?
After an hour of silence, he finally responded to my telepathic messages. He met up with me in the gallery before he went to search for the sword.
So this would have been after the theft was reported?
Yes.
He would have had to pick up Eugene after he murdered the Duke. This must be the alibi they're using to account for the time that no one could see Eugene. Anyways, this detail could be extremely important. Please add it to your testimony. I'm thinking it is because, of the whole thing with... Yeah. The whole thing with, Oh, the anti-magic field. How could he find it with the anti-magic field not there, right? That was what I was thinking. Please. Because they had the lockdown, right? Yes, of course. Harold, Eugene finally responded to my I met up with him in the gallery room before they finally found the artifact. Yeah, the anti-magic field. Where is that? The lockdown system. Once activated, it creates magical barriers to prevent anyone from leaving or teleporting out of the building. It covers the entire manor in an anti-magic field. Yeah, how could he find it with an anti-magic field going on?
Objection!
Yes. Harold, you found Eugene before you went to search for the Sword of Spell Eating. This would mean that all this happened while the lockdown system was still active. Am I correct?
Yes, as much as I was worried about the artifact, Eugene's safety was far more important.
That's the thing, Harold. You said after an hour of silence, you finally received a telepathic message back from Eugene. What? Oh, she got it. So that leaves one question. How did you communicate with Eugene telepathically if you were both within an anti-magic field? What? Harold, in response to the theft, the Kingsguard activated the lockdown system to prevent anyone from leaving. That same lockdown system would have placed an anti-magic field over every inch of the manor. That field should have suppressed the telepathic abilities given to you by familial bond. You wouldn't have been able to speak with Eugene at all. Except we already had this in the painting, because an anti-magic field and an anti-magic field cancel each other out. Eugene was holding the Sword of Spell Eating, so an anti-magic field was happening, and the Sword of Spell Eating's anti-magic field canceled out the Manor's anti-magic field. Boom! We'll get to that in a second, though. Please, Cuthbert is blowing the entire thing out of proportion. Anti-magic field is a resource-intensive spell. We can't assume they managed to cover every inch of the manor, especially the areas that would only be accessible to a small animal. Miss Tamora, let's assume that Eugene managed to reach some sort of blind spot in the lockdown system. The magical Oh my gosh. The magical telepathy granted by familial bond connects two people. Even if Eugene wasn't affected by the anti-magic field, Harold would be. That's very true. So how did I hear him that night? There's only one answer that makes sense, Harold. You did hear Eugene telepathically, because Eugene was wielding the Sword of Spell Eating. Oh! Oh, yes! I got it. What? I'm sorry, Mr. Cuthbert, but are you saying that the Sword of Spell Eating was stolen by the witness's pet monkey? I am, Your Honor. It's the only way the witness's testimony makes sense. He wouldn't say something so ridiculous if it weren't true. She didn't have a rebuttal. No community note. I could push this while I still have the... Let the monkey take the stand! Yes! Harold Haroldson, you were the one who stole the Sword of Spell Eating, weren't you? And what reason would I have to steal something that already belonged to me? It was to take suspicion off of you because you were the one who had William Frigga killed. You staged a robbery and used the Sword of Spell Eating to make Eugene invisible. Then you sent him through the manor's ventilation system, all so you could have him murder William Frigga in his study. Well done, Cuthbert. I suppose you just can't stop yourself from pursuing a lying witness. It's what I do best, Miss Tamora, as you are clearly letting this guy take the fall. Of course. Witness, do you have anything to say in your defense? It's quite obvious, but I completely refute the prosecution's allegations. He is misguided, but he's just doing his job. I was expecting his thoughts to be hostile like before. Then, do you also refute your statement about Eugene telepathically speaking with you? I know better than to lie on the stand to try to save myself. I can't explain how it happened, but I stand behind my testimony. Eugene did telepathically contact me during the lockdown, but how did he do it? Wait, so he didn't know how the telepathic communication happened? Maybe he wasn't thinking about it when he planned the murder with Beatrice. And that's your position, Cuthbert? That the witness sent a monkey to murder William Frigga? It may sound ridiculous, but it's the only thing that makes sense. Or do you have any evidence to refute that, Miss Tamora? No, I fully and wholeheartedly agree with you, Cuthbert. Wait, Tyrion? Mr. Cuthbert, did you forget that you were prosecuting Beatrice Frigga? Your Honor, even as a prosecutor, it's clear that Cuthbert just can't stop himself from finding the true culprit. Wait, I also meant to say that the defendant conspired with the witness to commit the crime. Oh, really? And do you have any proof of this conspiracy to commit? Of course you don't. But even so, But let's assume that you did have evidence to prove your statement. If this was really a plot formed by my client and the witness, what would my client even contribute to this plan? From what you said, this plot was completely carried out by Lord Haraldson and his familiar. Well, the glass. He would have needed a powerful mage like the defendant to break the sword's display case and stage the robbery. So her contribution to the murder was breaking some glass. Can you prove that my client shattered the display case? And can you prove that she did so knowing that it would somehow lead to her father's death? I might have been a little too eager to prove Harold's guilt. The physical evidence against my client was almost non-existent in the first place. Meanwhile, it seems the prosecution has just brought forward physical evidence that implicates Lord Haraldson. Physical evidence that is supported by his own testimony. There has to be some explanation for this, he's thinking. Cuthbert, didn't you ask me something yesterday? If my client didn't kill the victim, then who did? I suppose I should thank you for finding the answer. Oh, damn it. All I did was make it more difficult to prove my case. But Harold had to be involved in this. I wasn't wrong about that. Only Eugene would be small enough to traverse the air vents. Wasn't there anything else I could use? With the threat of indictment, Harold must have been stressed. It had gotten me out of tight spots before. Maybe I could find the evidence in his mind. You can use every trick you have, Cuthbert. It won't help you.
Naught can remain concealed.
I calm my mind and focus the Eye of Horus on him. I needed to find something, anything that might tie the murder to Beatrice. Reject. The Vitality earrings? At least the earrings of Vitality were left untouched. It's one of the few Limonite artifacts I've been able to find. That's good. Beatrice's blindness? It's truly a shame that Beatrice was driven to flee from her own family. If only I'd introduced myself for her. Perhaps we could have found a solution together. He doesn't know Beatrice? But how? She planned the murder with him. Unless... Oh no, we barked up the wrong tree. We've monkeyed around too much. William, it's a shame that things ended up this way. I truly hoped I could show you the value of Weird history. Oh no. Murder weapon. What? Why am I thinking about this? My mind can't be going already, can it? That piece of evidence didn't evoke any useful thoughts from him. Well, that's not good. What about the lockdown? Young Tyrion's argument makes sense. I couldn't have heard Eugene when the lockdown was active. What is going on here? What happened? Yeah, we gotta monkey around here and find out, I guess. The method of entry. What am I thinking about this? What Jan heard? Leif's testimony? No. What about Celeste's? What about the Sword of Spell Eating? Can't believe that one of my artifacts was used to commit a murder. It's completely disrespectful to the culture and history behind it. What? He was talking as if he didn't have any hand in this. But that can't be true, can it? What? What's going on? He's speaking as if he had no idea what was going on! Yeah. You could guard yourself from the Eye of Horus, but you couldn't lie to it. And if that was true, was I wrong about Harold's involvement? Is he really innocent? See anything, Cuthbert? Your Honor, it's clear that the prosecution has nothing left to argue. There is very little evidence implicating my client, and there is a far more likely suspect in front of us right now. Yes, I must agree, Miss Tamora. At the very least, I see no reason to prolong this trial any longer. Wait! Beatrice couldn't have personally done this. Discounting the fact that she's completely blind, she was with the two princes for most of the night. So who actually killed William Frege in his study? I need to think about this. The reason why I suspected Harold in the first place was because of what Tracker said. Tracker's vocabulary is pretty been limited. Rat, right. Well, could have been a human. A small animal, right? Tracker definitely saw some kind of animal. Was it someone else's familiar? Von Sanctus? Who did Tracker see in the air vent? Another familiar? Had to be a bit. Eugene. Tracker found the sword in that hallway. But why? Did Eugene just happen to be in that hallway? Yeah. Came out of there and he fled into the vent on the other side. He wouldn't have entered those vents out of mere curiosity. Why was Eugene in the air vents? I now knew that Harold didn't participate in the murder. But did he know about what Eugene was doing that night? Why was Eugene in the air vents? Okay.
What if...
Beatrice... Wait. Eugene was acting of his own free will? Eugene was acting... That's the explanation that makes the most sense, but how? And why? Harold is the only person who was magically connected to Eugene, but even if Beatrice somehow got Eugene to follow her orders, she wouldn't have been able to direct his actions telepathically. Beatrice couldn't use any other conjuration spell to contact him either. She was also in the anti-magic field when she was with Aster. So if Eugene was the one who murdered William Frege, was he acting independently? No, that couldn't be possible. How could Eugene have carried out this plan independently? This plan required knowledge of Frege Manor's ventilation system. It also involved murdering William during the lockdown and destroying his will. Eugene might be smart for a monkey, but a normal monkey wouldn't have known how to identify and destroy William's will, even if Beatrice had somehow trained him to do all this beforehand. How could Eugene have carried out this plan independently? Oh, are you serious? Eugene wore the armbands of intellect. No, it couldn't be. Check the other. That's what the armbands of intellect got stolen. Yes. Looked at the glass case the armbands used to be. They'd been removed. The thief didn't shatter the glass. Yeah. It was replaced with a very well-made replica. Oh my gosh, the monkey's an evil mastermind? Are we going to actually get the monkey on the stand? Please. Please, let's do it. Turned off a spoken password. Eugene knew the password. Only Harold knew the password, but someone could have overheard him saying it. Someone that's constantly hanging off of his shoulder. If I didn't play this right, this ridiculous accusation could end my legal career. We are gonna monkey around. I would have to be smart about this. Your Honor, I think there is one more witness that can clear up the discrepancy once and for all. I believe he can prove the prosecution's case to the court. We're going to call a monkey to the stand. Really? I frankly find that hard to believe. Please trust me, Your Honor. There's an element to this that we all aren't seeing. And it's one that no one would believe. What do you have planned now? Very well, I'll give you one last chance, Mr. Cuthbert. But know that if your next witness fails to unveil any new information, I won't hesitate to end this trial. I understand, Your Honor. So I'm going to need you to bear with me for a moment. Why? Your Honor, the prosecution calls Eugene the monkey to the stand. Oh! Mmm. Never mind. I'll be retracting my earlier statement. I'll be passing my verdict. Wait, just bear with me for a moment. Mr. Cuthbert, I should find you in contempt for even suggesting this. Do you honestly think I'll allow a monkey to give testimony in my courtroom? Yeah, it sounds pretty out there, even for us. I'd like to remind the court of the nature of Harold's bond with Eugene. Eugene is a familiar. That means that Harold Haroldson can speak with him telepathically. He can relay Eugene's testimony to us. But this is absolutely... Show me the law that says an animal can't give testimony, Your Honor. It may be unprecedented, but it's not against the law. Beautiful. Very well. Your Honor, are you serious? Oh, Mr. Mora, I am looking for any possible reason not to entertain this. But Mr. Cuthbert has a point. There are no laws against his proposal. So I have no choice but to oblige his frankly insane request for now. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. It's not as if this will reveal anything. I can't believe I'm saying this, but bailiff, please escort Lord Haroldson's monkey to the stand. Witness, please state your name and occupation. to the court. I could do without the sarcasm, Miss Tamora. Eugene is Eugene! Eugene Monkey! Bailiff, make sure the stenographer gets Eugene's translations. I didn't see the armbands. He must have been at his normal intelligence. Although, how would he even wear them? Perhaps he held them in his hands on that night? It only required physical contact, after all. Eugene, did you steal from the gallery on the night of the murder? Ook, ook, ack, ack. Eugene, never steal from Harold. Eugene, respect Harold. Then you'll have no problem testifying about where you went during the Lord's ball. I can't believe I let you convince me to permit this. Oh boy. Here we go. Eugene, explore house. Eugene, look for new places to play. Eugene, also look for spiders. Spiders, yum yum. You think Eugene steal armbands of intellect? Eugene, never steal from Harold. Harold, friend. Eugene, always Harold's friend. Apes strong together. Huh. Well, you did it, Cuthbert. You blew this case wide open. Is this really going to help us? Look, you'll just have to trust me on this. I trust you? That sentence sounded like it turned into a question at the end. Oh boy. Cross-examination of Eugene. But first, I think I'm going to take a quick break, and then we will cross-examine a monkey. I'll be right back. Oh, we can interpret?
Objection!
Your Honor, the witness's thoughts contradict the evidence. It's not contradictory. Okay, what? Oh. Eugene also looks for spiders. Spiders yum yum. Steal armbands of intellect. Apes strong together.
Objection!
What does that mean? Let's see. Let's do... But Harold is an associate of House Frege. Surely you visited Frege Manor before that night. Manor constantly changes. William always doing renovations. There's always a new discovery to be made. I suppose that made sense. William certainly had the gold for it. What is it, the Winchester Mystery House? It's constantly changing and getting additions. Anyways, what else did you do that night, Eugene? Did you enjoy eating spiders? Spiders, good, rich in nutrients. Wait, really? Some cultures in the Eastern Kingdoms eat roasted crickets. I've tried them. They're actually not bad if they're prepared correctly. I have also eaten crickets. They're interesting. I don't think I could ever be that adventurous. Can we please stay on topic? You think, Eugene... I wasn't accusing you of anything, Eugene. Perhaps you accidentally unlocked the case and took them thinking they were some sort of toy. This could all be an honest mistake. Eugene, not dum-dum. Eugene, know how important artifacts are to Harold. Eugene, never take from him. Eugene, never steal from Harold. You might not have knowingly done it. Perhaps you took one of the artifacts by accident. Eugene, never do that. Then how do you explain your brief contact with the sword of spell eating? Harold couldn't have telepathically contacted you unless one of you was wielding it. Eugene don't understand question. Right, he probably wouldn't understand how the sword worked without his heightened intelligence. Unless... Eugene always Harold's friend. Let's see. Do you consider yourself close to Harold? I would guess so. They literally have a magical connection with each other. Right, I suppose the bond between a mage and his familiar would require a lot of trust. Eugene saved Harold from bad man years ago. Eugene would never betray. So you are a rescue. Bad man lock Eugene in cage. He tell people to throw peanuts at Eugene. Harold take Eugene away from that prison. Lock up bad man. He seemed to genuinely care for Harold. Could that be why he did this? He clearly feels indebted to him. That might be his motive. Yikes. Okay. Tyrion, I know it looks bad, but I swear there's more to this. If you say so. There had to be something in his statements. He had to have been wearing the armbands on the night of the murder, which thought revealed that. Think about how Tracker spoke. Was there anything different about the way Eugene was speaking? Also look... You think Eugene steal armbands of intellect?
Objection!
Okay. Wait a minute. Eugene, I asked you before if you stole anything from Harold's gallery. Eugene, no! Eugene would never steal from Harold. Cuthbert, don't waste our time by having him repeat that statement. The thing is, Miss Tamora, that's not the same statement he made in his testimony. I asked the witness if he stole an artifact from the gallery. I never mentioned the armbands of intellect. Ook! What are you talking about now? The witness lacks the understanding to differentiate between the artifacts. If that's true, why did he use its actual name? I'm afraid I don't understand what you mean, Mr. Cuthbert. Your Honor, animals can't speak the same way that humans do. Even when a telepathic link is established, their vocabulary is extremely limited. Right. Tracker called the sword of spell eating a stick before. It was hard to understand what he really meant. Exactly. So that raises the question, how did Eugene know they were called the armbands of intellect? Wait, how did he know? The armbands were stolen during the Lord's Ball and replaced with a well-made replica. Where are the armbands of intellect right now? They're on Eugene. He's wearing them. If he had worn the armbands and he was sneaking through the vents, he would have never had the opportunity to put them back. And the armbands were still missing. Eugene is wearing the armbands at this moment. Yep. It couldn't be. Was he really? Wait a minute. Is this like, Allah forgive me for this utterance. But, is this like the circus case where it's like, hey, where's the statue? It's on you right now. It couldn't be. Was he really? The armbands were designed to be worn by humans, so Eugene couldn't wear them on his arms. So where would he wear them? I initially thought that just he carried them, but there's a far simpler explanation. Eugene, do you still maintain that you didn't steal the armbands of intellect? Eugene told you already. Eugene never steal from Harold. Then I suppose you wouldn't mind taking off your hat. You can't be serious, Cuthbert. Do you seriously think he's wearing them right now? It's the only thing that makes sense. The armbands were taken on the night of the murder, and they are still missing. If Eugene did indeed steal the armbands that night, he would have never had the opportunity to return them. He had no choice but to continue wearing them until the investigation was over. That is absolutely ridiculous. You're spinning a fairy tale. If I'm wrong, the witness can easily refute my theory by removing his hat. Well, what's it gonna be, Eugene? He finally broke character, his posture straightening into something far less primitive. His back straightened, his breathing became controlled, his arms became more deliberate in their movements. He slowly but silently lifted his hat, revealing what had been right under all of our noses. No, you can't be serious. This is so ridiculous, I love it. Everyone could see it plainly. He was wearing the armband like a crown around his tiny head. From out of his hat, I saw him pull out something else. Well done, Mr. Cuthbert. I shouldn't have underestimated you. You serious? Wait, that's something that happens in Ace Attorney as well. Oh my gosh, I just gotta take a drink here, hang on. Oh, it's so good. This is probably a blessing in disguise. Acting like a common chimp was humiliating.
Objection!
Yeah. Objection, Your Honor. On what grounds, Miss Tamora? On what grounds? Everything about this situation is objectionable. Oh no! Objection! That was objectionable. It's downright absurd. Is he seriously Beatrice's accomplice? But Miss Tamora, we can't deny what's clearly in front of us. I was not ready for today. Was he even talking right now? Scholars believe that humans and apes evolved from a common ancestor. Perhaps all apes can speak the common language under the right circumstances. Evolved? Please. I've observed your society. I think calling yourselves evolved is being quite generous. This can't be happening. Well, are you done gawking at me, bloody Philistines? Philistines? Wait a minute. He must think it adds a semblance of culture, the Philistines. Ah! Every insulting thought that I'd seen from Harold, they weren't Harold's thoughts at all. They were Eugene's thoughts. He's been wearing the armband since we first met. But I still don't understand. I love this twist. Why would you even take the armbands in the first place? I'll admit that the Lord's Ball was one of many occasions. The first time I touched them was due to sheer chance. You put them on by accident? Mine awakened self was enamored by its glittering sheen. I merely wanted to touch them, but when I first held them in my hands, I experienced a sense of clarity that was intoxicating. I was afraid of what I'd experienced, so I placed them back where they belonged. But as I returned to my primitive lifestyle, I couldn't stop thinking about what I felt. You were hooked. I wouldn't quite phrase it like that, but I suppose you're not wrong. I'd heard the password to Harold's vault more times than I could count. So I'd come in from time to time and indulge in the armband's power. But the more time I spent with my awakened intellect, the more I craved its power when I had to put them back. And that's when you made the replica. While no one was watching, I devised a plan to discreetly take the armbands. Harold would have eventually discovered that they were stolen, but he would have concluded that a noble from the Lord's Ball took them, because of the pressure that he was receiving from the crown. I'm not proud of what I've done, but I never expected things to reach this point. I didn't expect someone to steal the sword of spell eating as well, and I certainly didn't expect a murder to happen that night.
So you still maintain that you're innocent?
Of course, I do.
I stole the armbands, but I did not murder William Frege, nor did I take the sword of spell-eating. Allow me to elaborate.
Witness testimony of our genius monkey.
I'll admit that I took the armbands and replaced them with a replica, but I was not the one crook who stole the sword of spell-eating. The thefts were completely different from one another. The display case for the sword was completely shattered. I spotted the sword when I was exploring the manor. It was lying in the middle of a hallway. I wondered why such an important artifact would be lying there, so I took a closer look to inspect it. That's when I heard Harold call out to me telepathically. The sword must have protected me, and by extension Harold, from the anti-magic field. I wanted to take the sword and return it, but a wild dog chased me away from the scene.
He has a point. He didn't need to shatter the display case of the sword. Yeah, he already knew the passwords. But Tracker said that Eugene was the one who dropped the sword. Furthermore, he escaped into the air vent that led into William's study. His actions that night were definitely not as innocent as the testimony implied. He must have lied somewhere. A minute, armbands. You stole the armbands by using Harold's spoken password.
Yes, I sat on his shoulder most of the time. He obviously never suspected what I do, so it was a simple matter of listening to him when he transported the artifacts to Frege Manor.
And can I assume that you knew the passwords for the other displays as well?
I do. I could easily demonstrate that if needed.
I doubted that he'd lie about that when we could easily check him. Even so, you already lied about not stealing the armbands. Why should we believe you now?
The answer to that lies in the physical evidence. How do we know that you didn't shatter the glass to cover your tracks? Harold's password would have disengaged the locks, but they wouldn't disable the magic that protects the glass. Spells weren't even disabled anyways. Harold told you himself, didn't he? Only a powerful mage could have shattered the reinforced glass.
But as a familiar, magic can be cast through you.
Only Harold can cast magic through me. I can't cast any spells by myself. And even if I could, Harold's spell compendium doesn't have any spell that's powerful enough for that.
His logic was sound, but if what he was saying was true, who shattered the glass?
Anyways,
the sword, it was lying in the middle of the hallway. But that location was near the Frege's bedrooms. Don't tell me that you...
What do you take me for, some primitive lecher? I know what a bedroom looks like, and I'd never enter one uninvited, especially a young woman's.
Then why were you there in the first place?
I was coming back from the rooftop garden, but I suddenly felt something interfering with the armband's magic.
The anti-magic fields.
Yes. I was worried that something had happened, so I made my way back to the gallery to meet up with Harold.
I see. Could you add this to your testimony?
Very well.
I spotted the sword when I was heading back. It was lying in the middle of a hallway. Okay. Let's see. There was a flying rat. Dropped. How about Tracker's testimony here?
Objection!
Yeah. Eugene, I'm sure you're well aware of this, but the best way to lie is to hide a false detail within many truths.
And what are you trying to insinuate, Mr. Cuthbert?
You said that you were heading from the terrace to the gallery. Did you take any detours?
Of course not. With the armbands nullified, my intelligence was slowly fading. I wanted to return to Harold as soon as possible.
Witness, I'd like for you to take a look at this floor map of Frege Manor. This is the location where that wild dog found the sword of spell-eating. So tell me, Eugene, how did you spot the sword of spell-eating? When it was hidden in the hallway north of Beatrice's room.
That's...
Why are you nitpicking such an insignificant statement? He probably just got distracted and went down the wrong hallway. Miss Tamora, Eugene came from the rooftop garden, and he was adamant that he went directly to the gallery to reunite with Harold. Even if his intellect was muddled, he was intent on reuniting with his worried companion. He definitely took the direct route, but if he did, he would never have been able to see into that hallway.
I see your point, Mr. Cuthbert, but what does this mean?
It means that the witness lied about where he was before he discovered the sword of spell-eating. He wasn't coming from the rooftop garden. He came from the air vents in that specific hallway. All right. So why were you in that hallway, Eugene? You lied in your testimony. Was it because you wanted to hide what you were really doing that night? Eugene, you snuck through the air vents to avoid detection. Then you used the air vent in that hallway to break into William's study. After that, you murdered him using this letter opener, didn't you?
That's not what I went there to do! No, I didn't mean...
Order!
Oh, boy. Order! Order in the court! Witness, is this true? Did you break into William Frigga's study during the lockdown? Yes, I did enter his study, but not for the reason you think. William Frigga was already dead when I got there.
What? What did you just say?
It's true.
Do you honestly expect us to believe a story like that? How could someone else have killed the victim before you got there? Tracker took the sword of spell eating, and you were the only intelligent creature that could walk through the air vents.
I understand how unbelievable and suspicious it sounds. What do you think I lied in the first place? But it's the truth, Mr. Cuthbert. You have to believe me.
I didn't see any contradicting thoughts to the eye, but that hardly absolved him of any guilt. But could he really be telling the truth? If that was true, it only brought me back to the one question I've been asking since this all began. Who really did this? Okay, Eugene, let's assume you're telling the truth.
Do you actually believe me?
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. You're still my only suspect for this. But I'll give you the benefit of the doubt for now.
I see.
However, if you want to absolve yourself, I need you to tell me about what you really saw that night. There might be something, anything, that might point to who really did this.
Very well. I'll tell you what I saw. Although I doubt you'll believe me.
Oh boy, I can't wait to hear this.
I directly made my way to that hallway through another air vent. I exited the air vent in that hallway and tried to leap to the other side. I'm not sure if it was my waning intelligence or my carelessness, but I collided with something that I couldn't see. I fell to the ground and found the sword of spell eating laying next to me. I wanted to retrieve the sword, but that wild dog forced me to retreat. After that, I continued to make my way to the study. And that's when I found William Frigga. He was dead on the floor and lying in a pool of blood. And as if I were blessed by the Scaled Lord himself, I found the will that he'd been drafting, so I destroyed it.
Oh! He found it. Oh, why? Why? We gotta know.
Frankly, Mr. Haraldson, I find that story very difficult to believe, he says to the intelligent monkey. I assumed as much, but you know what they say. Truth is stranger than fiction.
Isn't it more likely that you murdered the victim? You're clearly trying to cover up what you did by saying that he was already dead. Honestly, I don't really know what to think. Was he really telling the truth? I think he is. Discreetly made my way. But why were you there in the first place?
It all began when William Frigga got into that argument with Harold. That cur wanted to defund the prestigious Haraldson Hall of History. I knew a man like William probably had many secrets. So I devised a plan to break into his study and find something that I could use to blackmail him. As you know, there's a small air vent in that hallway. It connects to William's study on the ground floor. I thought I could look through his documents while he was preoccupied with the Lord's Ball. I wasn't aware that William was planning to stay in his study all night.
I suppose that did make sense, but was he really telling the truth? I'm sorry, it kind of bothers me that study is capitalized every time. Shouldn't it just be William's study lowercase? It bothers me. But was he really telling the truth? What happened when you tried to leap to the other air vent, Eugene? Wasn't sure, collided with something. I thought monkeys were extremely dexterous. Are you just clumsy?
I have impeccable dexterity.
It sounded like I struck a nerve there.
I must have been muddled from losing the armpad's magic.
Right. I fell to the ground and found the sword of spell eating, okay? How did you know it was the sword of spell eating?
When I held it in my hands, I felt my intelligence return. But I also heard Harold calling out to me telepathically. He was clearly growing worried, so I knew I needed to move quickly. Okay. Trade the sword with a wild dog, right. Did this wild dog have a white coat of fur? He did. Are you acquainted with him? Something like that. Well, next time you meet him, tell him that I don't appreciate being called a rat. I'm a proud orangutan. You can understand him? I picked up a little of the canine language throughout my life. I'm also fluent in squirrel and pigeon. I can also speak owl, but it's barely conversational. As much as I wanted to test the validity of those claims, they weren't relevant to the case. What happened when you entered the study? When I found William Frege dead on the floor. Okay. It seems awfully convenient that he was murdered before you arrived. I know how it may seem, but I'm telling you the truth. And do you have any explanation for how the assailant broke into the study without the sword? I unfortunately do not. Please, it's obvious your testimony doesn't match up with the evidence. Whoever did this either entered through the vents or they used the sword to nullify the lock. And your own testimony states that the sword was abandoned in that hallway. It didn't match up with what I'd thought happened, but did it really contradict the evidence I had? Anyways, what did you do when you discovered the body? I knew it was only a matter of time before someone discovered the body, so I quickly searched the room for something I could use. The will. So you were the one who took the will. I've been trying to find it. What did it say? I was pressed for time, so I didn't read the entire document. I only skimmed it and found an order to defund the Heraldson Hall of History. Since he went out of his way to specify that on the current copy, I concluded that his former will didn't have this addendum. So you tried to save Harold's museum by ensuring that the new will would never be submitted for probate. Anyways, do you have the will with you? My apologies. I crumpled up the will into a ball and ate it. I then left the room before my intelligence was completely gone. Ugh. I was really hoping to see if William followed through on his threat to disinherit Beatrice. It was hard to believe, but I couldn't see any direct contradictions. I didn't think pressing him anymore would get me anywhere. If Eugene did indeed do this, my next course of action was clear. Although that still didn't explain how Beatrice fit into all this. I remembered something that Tracker had said to me. You said he had to smell to see where the rat was. He dropped his stick. Right, he was invisible. Right. Eugene was invisible. Eugene, when you were carrying out your plan, did you turn yourself invisible somehow? No, I hardly had the means to. And even if I had somehow convinced Harold to cast a spell on me, he doesn't know how to cast invisibility. Very few mages do. Right, I remember Eris saying the same thing during Wallace's trial. Only a master of illusion magic could do that. That's how I first thought Beatrice was involved. But if Eugene was truly innocent, did she turn someone else invisible? But once again, that just put me right back where I started. No. I needed to think through this. Eugene's testimony filled in a blank that had been missing. Go to the ground, yep. After that, yep. I then cross-referenced that with Tracker's testimony. Right, Tracker smell flying rat, yeah. Rat, okay. How did the sort of spell eating end up in that hallway? So where did that lead us? The thief dropped the sword in the hallway. The thief dropped the sword in that hallway, but how did that make sense? Did they hide the sword there as I'd originally thought? No, that hallway was close to the gallery. There were plenty of better places to hide the sword. If it weren't for Tracker taking it, it would have been found even sooner. The thief must have accidentally dropped the sword there. That could only mean one thing. Why was the thief in that hallway? The thief was walking, was sneaking, was tunneling, was breaking through.
What if?
The thief was sneaking through the hallway, right? No, that hallway leads towards the bath. I could think of very little reason why the thief would be walking there. But there was another explanation for why they were at that specific location. Hang on. The bath? Beatrice's bedroom is also on the bath, right? Beatrice was walking through the hallway. Yeah. Bath.
What if...
The thief was sneaking through the air vents? Yeah, the thief was also sneaking through the air vents. That's the only reason why they would be there, but that would imply that the thief was as small as Eugene. Could it have been another familiar? And if so, why didn't Eugene notice them? Wait. I collided with something I couldn't see. Yep. He collided with something he couldn't see. In other words, it was something that was invisible to him. And as a master of illusion magic, Beatrice was one of the few people at the ball that could cast invisibility. Oh ho ho! Beatrice would never trust anyone enough to work together like this. She's completely blind, not the type of person. Okay. Had I been approaching the situation incorrectly the entire time? Through the eye, I knew that Beatrice was involved somehow, but I just assumed that she had plotted this with someone else. The breaking of the glass and the casting of invisibility. These were the elements that I knew that she was involved with, but never really fit together. Not unless she was the one pulling the strings the entire time. And there was only one way she could be in control the entire time. What did Beatrice use to commit the murder? The earrings of vitality? No, hang on. The rats in the vents? Let's see. Hang on, let me think about this. So, what did she use? Wait a minute. Okay. Am I overthinking this? Part of me thinks I am, because part of me is of a mind that potentially Familial Bond was using this. Yeah. Caster see through the target's eyes. Yes. A couple of memories came back to me in that moment. Let's see. Yes, this is my familiar, Eugene. Now you cast Familial Bond on him. I'm surprised you know about it. It's quite rare. Right. Hi, I'm Tyrion. I'm Miss Tamora's ward. Instead of taking my hand, she clapped her hands together and took a deep breath. But what? Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. It's a bit of a habit of mine. Oh. I'm Beatrice. I've heard much about you. Took my hand. Okay. I didn't know that she was blind back then, so I barely even noticed it. But how did she know that I was holding out my hand? Oh! Oh, I didn't notice that either. Ho ho. Well, do you have any other questions for me? If I were wrong about this, Beatrice would surely be acquitted. And after that, the Inquisition would turn its attention to Harold and Eugene. But there was only one way to know for sure. Your Honor, the prosecution has no further questions for the current witness. He is dismissed. What? I see. You have something else planned, don't you? Yeah, and I actually need your help. Really? I whispered into her ear. Really? You're making some big assumptions there. Wouldn't the Inquisition check for something like that? I know, but it's the best play we have. Do you remember what Steelwind said yesterday? But the moment the guards saw the body, one of them cast Detect Magic. With that spell, they would have seen any invisible people hiding in this room. Wait, you can use Detect Magic like that? Of course, it's standard procedure. Like all spells, invisibility leaves traces of magic on the person it's cast on. So mages can use Detect Magic as a way to see them. If everything goes the way I think it will, I'll be able to prove its existence in front of everyone. Oh! Get her on the stand and then cast Detect Magic. All right, I'll follow your lead then. So, Mr. Cuthbert, how do we proceed? Your previous witness brought about more revelations than I could have ever guessed. Yeah. However, you still haven't given a substantial explanation about how the murder occurred or who actually did it. I understand that, Your Honor, but it will all make sense after I call my next witness. Another witness? I understand your hesitance, Your Honor, but everything that we've learned throughout these trials is finally coming together.
And this final witness will tie it all together in a perfect knot. Your Honor, the prosecution calls Beatrice Frege to the stand. Seriously, Cuthbert, you went to all that trouble just to end up calling my client to the stand? Oh boy, we're going to get spicy now. You and your client have the right to refuse, Miss Tamora, but I wonder how that will reflect on your client's character. It didn't really matter. She was already sitting next to Miss Tamora. We could carry out our plan regardless of what she decided to do. But it would have much more impact if I could bait her into lying on the stand. My client says that she's willing to testify. However, we would like to propose a short recess. With these new developments, I'm sure you can understand that we have much to discuss.
I see no reason not to grant the defense's request.
Is this really okay? If we give them time to prep, they might realize what we're doing. I know, but I don't think we have anything to worry about. I've been learning a lot about Beatrice since this case began. It was hard to read her expressions and emotions, even with Eye of Horus. She kept herself guarded and kept her true intentions unknown. She's powerful, more powerful than her father ever cared to admit. Despite this, he tried to control her and put her inside a cage. But Beatrice Frege would never live in a cage. She wanted freedom and control, and she would do whatever it took to get it. I'm sure the accident that blinded her didn't help things, but it also worked in her favor. Her blindness made people underestimate her, and she found a way to use even that to her advantage. When everything was said and done, she abandoned everything, her wealth, her status, even her family. She could have waited. She could have gritted her teeth until she was her turn to lead House Frege. If she was willing, she could have even secretly pushed her father past the gates of death herself. But she couldn't bear to live like that, even temporarily. I had no idea why this was how she chose to do that. Perhaps it had something to do with their meeting. But I did know one thing. Beatrice Frege would never put herself in a position of vulnerability. If I faced her head-on, she would respond in kind.
In the interest of giving the defense time to deliberate, we will be taking an extended recess. Court is adjourned.
As I was exiting the courtroom, I sent Celeste to do some reconnaissance. It should be similar to when she scanned Valentina during Wallace's trial. Tyrion, Celeste, were you able to see it? Yeah, it's definitely there, and it sits on her shoulder most of the time. So she keeps it close to her. That's good to know. It looks kind of weird, though. I've never used detect magic like this before.
Well, I doubted that someone like her would choose a
Conventional animal, especially for something as important as this. What is it, then? It was a flying rat, so what is it, like a bat? Cuthbert. Miss Tamora. It's not a bat, can't be a bat. Because bats are blind. Never mind. There's something I need to show you. Preferably alone. Celeste gave me a concerned look, but I nodded to show her it's okay. She moved to sit on the bench and kept a careful watch on Beatrice. Okay, lead the way. Oh. Where are we going? What? Leif, are you there? Miriam found Leif sitting in Beatrice's dusty old room. She was staring at nothing. Her mind was elsewhere. She barely acknowledged Miriam as she entered the room. How are you? I'm okay. This trial has really been something, hasn't it? Maybe we could take a break from all this. We could have that tea you wanted. I don't think that would be a good idea right now. Her voice was empty. She was practically muttering her words. Right, of course. Miriam, why do you hate me? What? I don't... You never want to visit, and you always avoid talking to me when you do. This is the first time I've ever seen you in years, and you want nothing to do with me. I know I'm annoying, and I'm not as smart as you, but That's not... I don't hate you, Leif. Nobody likes me. What? Anyone who spends time with me is just trying to get something from our family, or just trying to get with me. And I see you, tripping over yourself, trying to please Father and everyone else. You're so desperate. It infuriates me. I thought I was better than you. I thought I was stronger than you. I had risen above what had happened, while you were still living in the past. But then Beatrice suddenly came back and... Miriam, I like you. That just made Miriam burst out laughing. Really? You like me? Is it my welcoming personality or my amazing people skills? No, I really do like you. I've always admired you. You're intelligent and confident. You're even working with the Crown Prince. I wish I could be more like you. I definitely didn't have a perfect average at the academy. I hate that average. It just means I'm never allowed to make a mistake. You're the only person who could understand what living under Father was like. What about Beatrice? I was talking to her earlier. She admitted to me that she really did kill Father. What? Why would she tell you that? I don't know. But she even told me she was behind the attack on Lady Steelwind. I've been thinking of telling Tyrion Cuthbert about this, but I don't know what to do. Knowing him, he probably already knows. It's not as if we have any proof anyway, and if we testify, people will just think we're trying to steal her share of the inheritance. I don't know what to do anymore. You can start by telling me exactly what Beatrice said to you. Oh. Miss Tamora led me out of the courthouse and into the city. Every time I asked her where she was taking me, she avoided answering. All right, we're here. We arrived at an empty alley in the frankly seedier part of the city, and Miss Tamora approached one of the derelict buildings. She was met with a large, burly man who was guarding the back door. The man silently acknowledges her and steps aside to let her in. Miss Tamora, where are we going? I'm sorry about this. I'm sure you're confused. But you need to trust me. I'll explain everything. Before I had a chance to ask for more, she moved into the building. The man guarding the door looked at me expectantly. The entire situation didn't sit right with me, but I still followed after her. Despite our recent disagreements, I knew that I could still trust her. As we went further into the building, I found myself in a surprisingly well-furnished room. This is a song we haven't heard before. From how it looked outside, I would have never guessed that it would look like this. It almost looked like a room that I'd encounter in the Frege Manor. As I entered, I spotted several armed men standing at various points in the room. And most surprisingly, I saw Eris standing near the window. I shot her a confused look, but she simply smiled and waved at me. Sitting at a desk next to her was a man with an eye patch. He looked friendly and welcoming, but my eye of Horus couldn't read anything from him. It was like trying to read thoughts from a stone. He felt reminiscent of those charlatans trying to sell me suspicious miracle potions on the street. Ah, Tamora. Upon seeing the two of us, he cordially welcomed my mentor before turning his attention to me. And you must be Tyrion. Tamora has told me a lot about you. Who are you? I've been called many names over the years, but my favorite has always been the Eye Taker. Eye Taker, age 37, boss. The ringleader of the largest criminal organization in Weirengard. He seems to be planning some sort of revolution and is working with Ruby Tamora for that purpose. The Eye Taker. From the sounds of it, you've already heard of me. Miss Tamora, what is this? My daughter Eris has told me all about your work prosecuting this case. Eris was his daughter? But I have to say, I'm quite impressed. Getting a monkey to testify? I don't think I could even have pull off a grit like that. Pretty much blown past my expectations. Why, Get to the point. As soon as I interrupted him, I felt every person in the room tense up. Relax, everyone. Kids will be kids. I'm a father myself, you know? I'll get straight to the point. I have a certain interest in the outcome of this trial. What are you talking about? Little Lady Frege has been a client of ours for a long time. I've done quite a lot of favors for her. It's been quite an investment, you see. Those debts that Steelwind mentioned, they all belong to me. But there's no need to worry. I know she's good for it. That is, if she can inherit House Frege. What?
Tamora's a good attorney, even without my help. If she were convicted, we could have easily reduced her sentence by rubbing the right hands. But you see, there's that pesky Slayer rule. The thing is, Cuthbert, I need Beatrice Frege to be acquitted in the current trial. I narrowed my eyes at him, then to Miss Tamora.
So that's what this is about? House Frege's gold? That's why you helped her murder William Frege?
Please. My goals aren't nearly so short-sighted. I have big plans, not just for Beatrice, but for this entire kingdom. And I need House Frege for that.
Just like you needed Justin Way?
Tyrion. Justin. It's really a shame what happened to him.
Don't act so innocent. He would have never gotten involved with Von Sanctus if it weren't for his debts to you.
Is that so?
Do you think I just randomly showed up on his doorstep one day demanding gold?
He was the one who came to my people for help. I just told him to pay back what he owed. If he hadn't come to me, it would have been some other criminal locked up with him. But that's beside the point. Enough about what I wanted from Justin. Let's talk about what I want from you.
You want me to throw the case?
I love this kid. I don't have to beat around the bush with this one. No one will doubt you, especially considering the amount of work you put into this already. You don't need to do anything. Just stumble a little bit near the end. Take a dive.
And let someone else take the fall? No matter what happens, the courts will blame someone for this.
If it makes you feel better, I can assign Tamora to defend the old man and his monkey. That way, everyone can come out of this unharmed. Everyone wins.
Except for the fact that a murderer will be put in charge of House Frege.
Kid, there was always a murderer in charge of House Frege. You've been hearing about it in the news, haven't you? About all those insurrections in the countryside?
What does that have to do with House Frege?
Didn't you ever stop to think how little sense it made? Why would Lucio Steelwind keep massacring all those people? What did he gain from that? It doesn't matter how bloodthirsty he is. He wouldn't last very long in this kingdom if he had that little self-control. His reputation's in the hole now, is even mucking up his daughter's arranged marriage to the future king. Who do you think gained the most from that? Scaled Lord. The man with the money decides the rules. House Frege secretly owns every printing press in Warengard. Buy a few false reports here, pay for a few assassinations there. You get the gist. For a man with William's resources, public opinion can be whatever he wants it to be. We should all thank little Miss Frege for dealing all this up.
I looked at Miss Tamora. Had she been hiding this from me the whole time? Was Lucio Steelwind even as bloodthirsty as I always thought he was? Taking a quick break here. I am now 2 for 4 on my predictions. So Ruby is not so scrupulous. Lucio is not so bad. And we have 2 dragons to confirm later. Also, I don't think Eris is actually Eyetaker's daughter. I think Eris is some kind of evil, horrible demon. I think Eyetaker probably isn't like a demon. I think Eris is definitely a demon. I never actually saw him do anything that criminal during my case in Orono. If you all knew about this, why didn't you release it to the public?
Damn, are you really that naive? The public will do zilch. Everyone's out for themselves. People will get angry for a week or two, but no one really gives a damn. You saw it yourself. You caught Von Sanctus red-handed, and he didn't even get hit with community service. We're all just pawns in the nobility's game. But I've got a pawn myself, and she's going to become a beautiful queen by the end of this. We'll finally have a level playing field with those bastards. Tyrion, please, just listen to him.
How can you just go along with this?
I told you a long time ago there were certain parts of my job that I couldn't tell you about.
Well, this is it. This is what we need to do to beat them. Those rumors about you, they're all true, aren't they? Forgery, bribery, blackmail. You're guilty of each and every one of them. And you used him to do it. All so you could keep winning. You blackmailed Miriam, Miss Tamura. Oh, as if she would show any pity for that spoiled princess. A dreadful thought came to mind. Steelwind. She was attacked the day that Beatrice was arrested. Was that... I didn't know that's what they were planning. I had no doubt in Tamara's skills, but I'm afraid there was too much riding on this to leave it to chance. You've got to make your own luck if you want to beat the system. How could you? She almost died! We never expected her to strain her injuries like that, and we definitely didn't expect you to take her place. So believe me when I say that I'm being uncharacteristically reasonable right now. How? How could you even consider working with someone like him? Don't you think it's a little arrogant to judge her, Cuthbert? What? You talk about defending people as if you two are even close to being equals. But she doesn't have the luxury of looking into people's minds, now does she? You told him about the Eye of Horus? The future of magic is changing, kid. Like I said before, I have big plans for this kingdom. And I also have big plans for you. Do you think I would ever... Tyrion, stop! I hate this as much as you do. But whether you like it or not, we need help from people like them. It's the only way we can ensure we win. But this is... Think about every client you defended. Think of Celeste. If you didn't have the Eye of Horus, what would have happened to her? If even one thing had gone differently, Pierce would have gotten away and Celeste would have been executed. You've taken chances and followed your instincts, and that's worked for you so far. But one day it's not going to be enough. Who's going to die because of that? With his help, you'll never have to worry about that again. So what's it going to be, kid? You already know about what happened to Steelwind's brat. So I don't need to tell you what will happen if you don't play ball. Wait! No. What? Maybe you're right. Maybe I can't always win against the nobility unless I operate as they do. But this won't change anything. We'd just be trading one set of criminals for another. Tyrion, I'm not going to become everything I hate about this kingdom. Not even for you, Miss Tamura. I'm sorry to hear you say that, kid. I really am. With one motion of his hand, every mercenary in the room drew their weapons. Wait, stop. Whatever conviction I had before was slowly fading. I should have never entered this place. I knew something was off. There were about a dozen mercenaries here, and there were even more guarding the exit. I was nowhere near as physically strong as Celeste, but maybe I could make a break for it if I get lucky. No. Oh, Celeste? What the? How'd you get in here? Do you honestly think I just let you take him to some suspicious shack? It doesn't matter, as if one girl will make a difference. Well, what are you all waiting for? Is that really her? Upon seeing Celeste, the mercenaries cautiously stepped back. No one wanted to make the first move. This monstrous aura, it has to be her! What the hell are you doing? You have her surrounded! Despite his command, no one took a step forward. Look, let's all just sit down and talk about this. Perhaps a different approach is warranted here, Father. What? Could I have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Cuthbert? I believe I can make him see things our way. I'm sorry, sweetie. Oh! Well, you've never been wrong before. I'll leave them to you, love. Shall we go, you two? Celeste silently watched Eris with her sword drawn, but unlike the mercenaries, Eris seemed unfazed. She simply walked past her and out the exit. Celeste and I exchanged glances and followed after her. I don't think I could have fought that whole room while protecting you. You two are really courageous to a fault, aren't you? Eris, I appreciate you stepping in, but I'm not changing my mind about this. Oh, I'm well aware of that. Why do you think I intervened? Well, thank you. Is this really okay? Won't your dad be mad? I should be asking Tyrion that same question. You've seen your adoptive mother's true colors and rejected them. How are you two going to move forward? She's not my... Isn't they so? She lost any right to deny it the moment she took it upon herself to raise you. She only did that because I asked her to. It wasn't her choice. Oh, but it was. How old were you when your real mother was executed? 10 years old. Eris! Back then, you barely knew Timora. She was the adult in that situation, and what did she do? Instead of allowing you to process your grief and move on, she fed your anger and hatred for the nobility. Timora took you away from your only friends and isolated you from society. She even homeschooled you, didn't she? That's... As a result, you never formed any other relationships. You made your first close friend at the age of 20, and she was your client. Don't you think that's a bit sad? That's not true. That's not why she... From what I've seen today, you clearly have no idea who Timora is. Even with the Eye of Horus, you're clearly a terrible judge of character. Eris leaned in really close to me and whispered something into my ear. Do you really think Timora loves you? Do you think Celeste will ever love you? What? I'm sure you understand now. Timora can only afford to pay her exorbitant salary. Because of my father. You've already burned that bridge. So where do you think the Crimson Demon will go when you can't afford her services anymore? No, she's not... With Flintheart dead, she has to worry about her mother. Do you think she has the luxury of playing hero with you? Or did you think she actually enjoys spending time with you that much? Tyrion, you have to look at this rationally. The affection she's given you has been to keep you as an employer. You seem to know a lot about these things. I had a lot of networking when I was a mercenary. Do you know how many times I had to charm a merchant into hiring me? Oh boy. Why are you telling me this? Oh, it said because I want to break you. Oh, no. I'm just trying to keep you from getting hurt. It may seem cruel, but you have to be realistic about these things. You trusted Timora, and she betrayed you. You do well not to make the same mistake twice. Celeste didn't hear anything she said, but she could see how rattled I was. Eris, that's enough! My apologies. I've been told that I've been a bit too blunt sometimes, but I do hope you'll think about what I said. Anyways, the trial should be starting soon. We should make our way back to the courthouse. I'm genuinely curious to see how this trial ends. Hey, Tyrion, are you okay? What did she say to you? She took my hand, but I instinctively yanked it away. Tyrion? Sorry. I didn't mean to... I'm okay, really. Okay. Is he mad that I followed him? I could think about everything else later. I knew what I needed to do at that moment. I needed to convict Beatrice Frege. Oh, seeds of doubt officially sown. Court is now resumed for the trial of Beatrice Frege. Is the defendant prepared to take the stand? Timora, I asked you a question. Is the defendant prepared or not? She is, if the prosecution still wants to move forward with... The prosecution will be moving forward with this. Please bring in the witness. Do you still see it, Celeste? Yeah, it's still there. Should I reveal it now? No. Let's really make a point of it. Wait for my signal. Thank you for agreeing to take the stand, Miss Frege. Mr. Cuthbert, it's my understanding that you were with the two princes for most of the night. Yes, I was. Which is why I'm still quite confused as to why I'm being charged for this crime. Out of everyone there that night, I'd have thought my alibi was the most apparent. That remains to be seen. Clearly. Anyways, since you still maintain your innocence, you'll have no problem going into detail about your supposed alibi.
Okay, witness testimony.
As you know, I was with Crown Prince Aster and Prince Alaric for most of the ball. I went there after meeting with Father. I remained with him until I was arrested for his murder. Lord Steelwind and the King's Guard kept watch over me for the entire night as well. I neither had the means nor the opportunity to steal the sword of spell eating and break into my father's study to murder him.
Objection!
Oof. And that, Miss Frege, is where you're mistaken. You definitely had the means to commit both crimes while under the eye of everyone there that night.
The most effective tool an attorney had was revealing a contradiction in a witness's testimony. It not only completely shattered their argument, it also made the court doubt whether the witness was acting in good faith.
Now, Celeste.
Aburio. Wait, what are you doing?
It's a what the heck? It's a D. Oh, Your Honor, the witness's testimony is clearly. Oh my! What the hell is that thing?
Tyrion, get behind me.
A monster! It's a monster! Someone call the Inquisition, the King's Guard, anyone!
Your Honor, can you please restore order?
Your Honor? The old man fled out the back door the moment he saw me. It can talk. It's a demon, it must be. It's just like the legends say.
Can we all just calm down?
It took a while before we could get everyone in the room to settle down. Eventually, it became clear that the demon wasn't intent on harming anyone, at least not yet. The court ordered in extra guards just in case, and we were eventually able to bring everyone back to the courtroom, including the judge. Mr. Cuthbert! What is the meaning of this?
Sorry, I didn't know it was actually, what are you?
Are you a demon? Why, yes! I am a demon. Demons actually exist? I thought they were only a legend.
Your Honor, not only do demons exist, the defendant has made one into her familiar. She's only blind in the legal sense. She's constantly looking through the eyes of her familiar to see. And?
What do you mean, and? It's obvious that making a pact with a demon is incriminating myself.
Tell me, Your Honor, do the laws of Weir and Guard prohibit entering an accord with a demon?
They don't, but...
Then my client has committed no crime. Even so, I would have preferred not revealing Maranoth like that.
Maranoth? Is that your name? It is what most people call me. Maranoth, demonic familiar, age unknown, a small winged demon who acts as Beatrice's familiar. Supposedly, Beatrice can only see through his eyes due to her blindness. To think that demons are actually real.
I suppose the defense has a point. Having a demon as a familiar isn't technically illegal. However, this does prove that the defendant had a way to commit the murder, all while under the eye of everyone in the ballroom. She could have sent Maranoth upstairs to the gallery and then had him steal the sword of spell eating. After that, they would just need to traverse the vents into William's study. Just like Eugene did that night. The fact that her familiar is a demon proves that she couldn't have done that. What do you mean? You saw how everyone reacted when they saw Maranoth's true form. A monkey may have raised some eyebrows, but surely someone would have reported Maranoth if they saw him. Tamora, your client is a master of illusion magic. Can I assume that we'll find invisibility in her spell compendium? You might. And with the connection granted by familial bond, she could have cast a spell on him regardless of where each of them was. But could my client have continued casting it unnoticed? Continue casting it? I'd like to remind the courts of the order of events that night. The courts, you mean the court? At an unknown time, someone stole the sword of spell eating from the Heraldson Gallery. Due to the timing of this, I'll admit that it would be logically consistent if my client were the thief. However, sometime later, my client met with the Crown Prince and was watched closely by the King's Guard. From witness accounts, including yours, we know that this happened at 12:45 a.m. And since this time, my client hadn't left the King Guard's sight. It was around this time that William Frege retreated into his study and locked the door, He made a point of telling everyone that he didn't want to be disturbed. Then at 1:03 a.m., Lord Haraldson finally discovered that the sword was stolen. He reported the theft of the Inquisition and they activated the lockdown system. Shortly after the report, Leif Frege tried to speak with her father about the theft. William Frege reiterated that he did not want to be disturbed. Leif saw his face, and there weren't any traces of illusion or necromancy directly on his body. This means that William Frege was still alive at this time. Unbeknownst to everyone at that time, William Frege was attacked by the murderer at 3:12 a.m. This was confirmed not only by Jan Hughes' testimony, but also by the autopsy report. I feel like this would have been better if she was putting together a comic book and had some nice, like, upbeat music, like da 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 da, like that. Then at 3:26 a.m., the Kingsguard found the Sword of Spell Eating in my client's old room. The Kingsguard tried to arrest my client for this, but the Crown Prince told him to stand down. Finally, at 3:36 a.m., the lockdown was lifted. Jan Hughes reported what he heard, and that's when the Inquisition and the Kingsguard discovered the body. The theft must have happened before 1:23 a.m., when it was actually reported. In order to keep Maranath concealed at every step, my client would have needed to keep him invisible from 1:03 a.m. to 3:12 a.m. Not only that, she needed Maranath to wield the Sword of Spell Eating to ignore the effects of the anti-magic fields. This means he would need to be invisible for more than an hour. What's your point? My point is that invisibility has a duration of 1 hour. I'll admit that my client could have cast invisibility before she met with the Crown Prince. But if she wanted to keep Maranath invisible, she would have needed to recast the spell at some point that night. Wait, what is the... Hang on. How do you cast invisibility? Clap both hands together. Hang on. There. What was she doing? Clapping her hands together. Occultare. But she... Well, okay. We got that part, but she has to say occultare as well. Yeah. Okay. We got that one, though. We absolutely got that one. And as you know, my client couldn't have done so during that night without the Kingsguard noticing it. Your logic makes sense. But that can only mean that the defendant refreshed the visibility right in front of everyone watching. In front of the entire Kingsguard, the two princes, and Lucio Steelwind? As unlikely as it is, it's the only conclusion I can come to. I had a feeling you'd say that, which is why we have a witness who can confirm that Beatrice didn't perform any magic that night. A witness? Your Honor, the defense would like to call Prince Alaric to the stand. I see. He would have certainly been close enough to notice the defendant casting magic. But couldn't the Crown Prince's testimony be more suitable? Are you trying to say that Prince Alaric is unqualified to give proper testimony, Your Honor? Of course he was saying that. The kid is 7 years old. No, of course not. Is the prince ready to testify? Grow a spine, for Lord's sake. Thank you for coming in, Prince Alaric. Could you please... Hold your tongue, knave. Will you speak? You will speak when you are spoken to. He sounds exactly like Miriam when we first met her. Honestly, he behaved exactly how I'd expect the prince of this kingdom to act. Aster was the odd one out. I wonder what made him so down to earth. Your Highness. Mr. Cuthbert believes that the defendant used her magic while she was with you and the Crown Prince. I already gave my statement to the instigators. This man dares to question my testimony? Yes, he said it, not me. If my testimony is required to stake down these redundant accusations, I will bestow it upon you. Redundant? Don't you mean ridiculous? Mr. Cuthbert, do not dare to suppose what His Highness really meant. His boots must be shining from all that looking you're doing. What was that? Nothing. You think Lady Freyja cast magic right in front of me? Don't be a serf. She was under the careful watch of the King's Guard, my brother, and Lord Steelwind. We conversed for the whole night, and I didn't see her cast any magic. She's been through so much over the last few years, all because of her horrid father. She'd never do something like this. You and Lady Steelwind are just jealous. He seemed really convinced that he didn't see anything. I doubted that he was unintentionally lying. Celeste, usually when you cast Detect Magic, I can see magical energies overlaying your eyes. Yeah, there's always a visible magical effect on the target when I cast a spell. But Marinath's probably in another room. The Kingsguard wouldn't see the initial magical effect of invisibility. True. Even if there wasn't a visible effect in that room, she would have still needed to say the incantation and perform the gesture with her hands. Right, like you shout Repario Arcanum every time you scan a crime scene. I don't shout it. Yes, you do. She must have performed the incantation and gesture at some point during the night. With so many people watching her, did she somehow do that without anyone noticing? All right, I think I'm actually going to call it here before we get started on the next thing, since it's almost time usually where we stop. So I'm going to call it, and we're going to question Alaric next time. This case is wild. I love it. This is a really good case, even for just Ace Attorney likes. All right, we will see you guys next time.